I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all their shoulders, like moving boulders just to get out of the home. It sucks, I've had enough, I don't wanna feel the stuck under the rug, all my problems that I shove.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough, nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough, nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff. It sucks when you finally feel like giving up. Oh God, no luck, everything feels like you're sticky stuck. I'm lost, handcuffed to the bed where I sleep, don't give a fuck. Can't stop, unplug, feeling overwhelmed, I think I've had enough. Gotta find a way to get some energy, gotta find someone who's a good friend of me. I need purpose to make it all worth it, I'm still searching and I'm still learning. I want a life that's filled with memories, not a life with regret in front of me. I need focus to keep me from hopeless psychosis if I keep moping.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough, nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough, nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff.
I wake up every minute with a fever dreams. I push a mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Choke until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see, matter of fact.
Cause I'm my own worst enemy, only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully.
Hello and welcome to my Mind Over Your Matter. My name is Rick, and let's get this show started. Woo! I said I wasn't gonna be back, but I changed my mind because I didn't have really anything to do, and I was like, "Oh, I don't have nothing to do. Why not just come on my show and just review some news together?" I know, right? I mean, today is the Day of the Dead, and today is the last day of our beautiful time that we're used to because we're gonna fall back. We're gonna fall back 1 hour tonight at what 3 in the morning. It falls back an hour, but before you go to sleep, just set your clocks back, and you don't have to worry about your phone. If you have a smartphone, I'm pretty sure it will set itself back. And if you don't, if you have a stupid phone, well, set your stupid phone back an hour because if you don't, you're going to be an hour too early to anything that you do tomorrow because we're falling back. And do I like the fall back? It depends. I wake up earlier. I mean, get things done more with the fallback. I mean, you tell me what you feel about it. I mean, for me, I mean, it is what it is. But let's go ahead and catch some of the news. That's what we're here for. Say what's up to Albie, Terry. What's up? How you guys doing? And let's get to this fallback news. It's gonna be 3 news segments back to back to back.
Well, it's that time of year again when the clocks fall back, marking the end of daylight saving time. And this year, the change comes just after Halloween, and we are facing darker evenings, disrupted routines, and negative effects on our physical health, giving new meaning to the term Sunday Scaries. So joining us this morning is a doctor. We've got Ruben Halperin here, medical director at Providence Health Plan, with some strategies to minimize the effects of tomorrow's time change. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I mean, despite gaining an extra hour of sleep, research shows that each time the clock changes, the body's organ systems, like the immune system and metabolism, function less efficiently. Is that right?
So that's correct. We get disruption of our rhythms. We get disruptions of our rituals. The good news is the change in the fall is actually much easier on your body than the change in the spring. And the reason is we get more light in the morning and our bodies are really attuned to the circadian rhythms and the sun. And even in the Pacific Northwest, where, we think of dark and rain all winter, that light is really critical. So the real danger is in the evenings when daylight savings ends. People's rituals change. You might have been driving home in the light and now you're driving home in the dark. So in the fall, we see more car accidents. We see more people who are trying to stay up to keep their rituals and really having trouble. If you're normally going to bed at 10 o'clock, well, 10 o'clock now or starting tomorrow is going to be 9 o'clock. So you have to make slow adjustments to your schedule. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to tough it out and stay up like I usually stayed up.
Okay, so can you give us some anecdotes? Like, what is one easy way we can alter our schedules? Like, you're saying minuscule changes, right?
Yeah, so I would plan on not changing your sleep time more than about 15 minutes a day. So if you normally go to bed at 10, tomorrow you're probably going to go to bed at 9. And then maybe after that, go at 9:10, 9:15, and do that over a period of a week or so to really let your body acclimate. Now, what you will find is you're going to have more energy during the day because that morning sun is really going to work for you. That's the irony of all of daylight savings is our bodies are much more attuned to standard time. It's actually healthier for us.
Wow, 15 minutes, such a big difference. Wow. Okay, so reduce daylight after school and work. That also means smaller windows of time for us to get outdoors and exercise. So how do we stay motivated and not just become couch potatoes?
Yeah, well, I think again, how you start your day is really critical. So taking advantage of the fact that there's more light early in the day, it makes it easier to wake up in the morning. It makes it easier to be active in the morning. I think also for wintertime, like finding winter activities. So some of those may be indoors. Some of them may be, more social things. People who live in Nordic countries practice their hygge, where they stay home and they bond with family members. So I think that you have to find other joy. You're not going to be doing, late afternoon hikes probably.
Fair enough. Well, doctor, thank you so much for these remedies. I'm sure everybody is waking up and kind of groaning over the change a little bit. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's keep it moving.
It's the great debate that comes around like clockwork.
I despise daylight saving times ending.
I love a good fall reset.
For decades, twice a year, the vast majority of Americans have switched their clocks an hour forward in the spring and an hour back every fall.
How am I supposed to go on my nice little walk by the water after work when it's pitch black outside?
The intended
You always
goal
got something
to
to
best
complain.
utilize available daylight, but studies suggest the biannual back and forth can actually negatively impact productivity, safety, and even your health. New evidence from Stanford Medicine finds if we locked the clock, there would be a decrease in the prevalence of both obesity and stroke, though by less than 1%.
The risk to any individual is really quite small. It's when 350 million people do it all in the same day that you can kind of see this increased risk for car accidents and heart attacks.
The issue returned to the Senate floor this week in an attempt to advance the President Trump-backed Sunshine Protection Act, which proposes to do away with the time shifts. But the bill stalled, with Senator Tom Cotton pointing out Congress has done it before and quickly returned to the twice-a-year tradition because of early morning car crashes involving kids.
Permanent daylight savings time would push winter sunrises to an absurdly late hour, depriving Americans of morning sunshine that's essential for our safety and well-being.
The debate isn't just to stop the clock, but also over which time policy should be permanent. In a Gallup poll this year, 19% of Americans say they like the status quo. 24% say they prefer to have daylight saving time the whole year, which prioritizes light in the evening, while 48% of Americans want standard time, which focuses on light in the morning in the winter. Stanford researchers fall into the last camp.
To get outside, get some light exposure to regulate your circadian rhythm and make sure you're keeping it dark at night so that, your sleep isn't disturbed.
To avoid clock shock from setting in.
Clock shock is what we had. Every day we have clock shock.
Seriously.
Exactly. So the good news as we enter standard time, we gain an hour of sleep this weekend. Hawaii and Arizona, of course, are the exceptions. They do not participate in the twice-yearly clock change, along with roughly 2/3 of countries around the world.
It really is ridiculous that we still do it.
It's so confusing. As an Arizona girl.
But you made a good point. Like, if
it's more for farming than it is for the people.
It's confusing year round.
It's so silly. I'm like, Mom, what time is it there? She's like, when will you start to? I can't understand.
We should leave this to the farmers. They're impacted.
Yeah. Look, the problem is, the majority of Americans want to lock the clock, but do we lock it on standard time or daylight saving time? Who cares? Just lock it. Just lock it. 6
Sounds like this. Sorry, but it does.
6 of one, 7 of the other.
Right. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget the Today Show every morning.
It's going to catch you no matter what. Let's keep it moving. Oh, I fucking hate to climb up there. I would hate to climb up there.
So, for the time change, what we actually do, we start at about 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, and we go round the whole parliamentary estate and do all the clocks there. And then at 6 o'clock at night on Saturday evening, we come up here and we stop the great clock. We actually stop it what we do, we switch the dial lights off so everybody outside knows it's not telling the right time. We'll move the hands to midnight and leave the hands parked up at 12 o'clock at night while we're still doing all the maintenance. And then at what would be the new midnight, we start the clock again. We don't switch the lights on and we don't have the bells on, but we get the clock ticking. And then we've got from 12 o'clock till 2 a.m. to get the time right. And of course, we can only get the time perfectly right on the hour, so we've only got 2 chances of getting it right. And then at 2 o'clock, we switch the lights back on, we switch the bells back on, and hopefully go and get some sleep.
Wow.
It's one of those jobs, it's a great privilege. It really is. You know, we are looking after probably one of the most iconic timepieces in the world.
It is iconic. I'm not gonna say it's not iconic. But fucking climbing up the stairs and then you have to set up the clock and then you have 2 chances to get this right. And if you don't, the clock's gonna be off. It's like, it's gonna be off like this next story, which I can't believe it's gonna happen. Oh my god, next week is gonna be crazy week next week.
We are just 4 days away from Election Day, but voters in New York City, New Jersey, Virginia, and California have already hit the polls for early voting. Among the notable races, New York City's mayoral contest, gubernatorial races in New Jersey and Virginia, and the special election in California over whether Democrats can redraw their state's congressional map. CBS News producer Jared Ochacher is following the closely watched New York City mayoral race. Frontrunner Zohran Mamdani, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and Guardian Angels founder Curtis Sliwa are making their final push for votes.
Juliet, here in New York City, we are a few days away from the mayoral election, and a week into early voting, around 500,000 people have already cast their ballots. The latest polls released this week show that Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani has a commanding double-digit lead over his opponents, Independent Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Sliwa. These 3 candidates have different platforms and unique final approaches. While up in the polls, Mamdani is cautioning his supporters against becoming complacent and urging his over 90,000 volunteers to continue canvassing and phone banking. Cuomo has received support from high-profile endorsements from former Mayor Mike Bloomberg and even across the aisle with Republican Congressman Nick Langworthy. I spoke with the congressman today who told me that he sees Cuomo as the only viable candidate with an opportunity to defeat Mamdani. The congressman expressed his concerns about Mamdani's affiliation with the Democratic Socialists of America. And Sliwa has famously refused to drop out of the race despite calls from wealthy donors and other politicians. Sliwa says he'll let the voters decide, not outsiders. He highlighted his message to voters this week at a press conference, saying that even if a Mack truck hits him and turns him into a speed bump, his name will still appear on the ballot. Back to you.
Man, I like that guy so much. I love his attitude. Just he needs a better platform. Like, I think he got in the race a little late. That's why. But let's go ahead and keep it moving.
One family serving up the costume of the night at the White House's Halloween event, dressing up as
last night, the McDonald's
drive-through.
So good.
Joining us now is that
was
family,
priceless.
Jared, Megan, Christopher, and Scarlett Small. Thank you all for joining us. What a great costume. When you rolled up to the president and first lady, what was their reaction?
Well, Megan actually pushed it up so she can say what the president actually said.
The president, he just said it was a great costume. Oh, sorry. With a 2-year-old on her hands. He said it was a great costume. We did a great job.
Terrible twos.
I think he really enjoyed it. So I think they both thought it was very funny.
Well, first of all, it was amazing that the president was even there. He was like 2 hours after this whirlwind tour of Asia. And then he comes in to give Halloween treats, which shows what a great guy he is. Tell me about how long it took you to make it and think of this. I mean, I'm always impressed with all the moms who do the homemade costumes.
It's okay. Yep. So, oh my gosh, I think we probably came up with the idea about a month ago. And then I think a couple weeks of work, painting, many trips to the
That's
hardware
how it is
store.
with a 2-year-old.
Never have all the right stuff.
So we knew we wanted to do something with the wagon.
Totally.
Yeah. Megan spent a lot of time on the ground painting this with her bare hands. She made some PVC pipe that's out of frame. She did a lot
She did a lot of arts and crafts on this one, which is really nice and appreciated. So it's a nice kind of combo effect.
Yeah, Jared, we see you doing double dad duty there. So you are seen, my friend.
Yeah.
So I know you're doing it too. Hey, real quick, what's been the reaction?
Keep handing us our phones.
What's been the reaction that you guys have gotten from this?
So more than we thought. I mean, 'cause, Fox and Friends right now. I mean, it's kind of indicative of that. But it was funny. As soon as we thought it would be funny, and we thought some people would laugh at it, right? And like our friends would think
Hey
it was
Rob,
funny.
what's up? How you doing?
But like, I knew maybe it was going to be a little bit of a thing when we got outside of the car at the Willard, and I started assembling it, and multiple people stopped and started taking pictures.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, this might pop a little bit, but I didn't think we would be doing anything on television.
You just want to be carried.
People who see it, they immediately get it, or does it take them a second to sort of
Yes.
put it together?
Oh, yeah, they loved it.
No, immediately.
Big hit.
Yeah.
Did it?
Hyper kids.
I have to
Oh
tell you
my
guys.
god.
I'm watching you wrangle with these kids. I am so relating to everything that's going on there. I want you to not worry at all. This is great TV. Our viewers love it. We love kids.
We love it.
You're looking great.
Yeah.
They were very well behaved at the White House.
I noticed that.
It was great.
Yeah.
So.
I noticed that.
I mean, you all are so efficient right now. Maybe
They
you
were.
could actually run a McDonald's drive-through.
I feel like we'd be
Multitasking
ready
and
for
everything.
You know, you can do live TV hits, national live TV hits from your living room and wrangle 1 and 2 year olds.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Now, is that Scarlett that is giving us
This
energetic
is, this is
discussion?
Scarlett.
That is Christopher.
Yeah, he's 2.5.
Okay. So were you guys
Kinda
surprised knowing, you guys know the president's schedule, that he came all the way from Asia, and that, were you surprised? I'll tell you this, I asked Sean, I was talking about this with my husband Sean, and he said that he would have said, you got this, Rachel. You go out and pass out the candy, but the president was there 2 hours after this trip.
And he was out there for a while.
They were out there for a long time. I was surprised.
Torture for that little boy.
He was out
Or a
there
little
for
girl.
hours.
I don't know what it is.
I mean, it was amazing. I think Halloween in the White House is really special.
Hardest working guy.
Jared, Megan,
It's a
Christopher,
girl.
and Scarlett, we love your costume. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh,
Thank
you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Will Kane.
She did not
Click here.
want
Subscribe.
to be in that interview. She was all over the place. Oh my goodness. Let's keep it moving.
And of course, and that is creating a potential nightmare for air travel. Airline and union leaders are now pressuring lawmakers to reopen the government ahead of what, of course, is going to be a busy holiday travel season.
Pass a clean CR, get to the table, negotiate a deal. Do not put working people in the middle of a problem they should not be in there.
Airlines are a pretty good real-time indicator of the economy, and we start to see still minor but steep booking impact. Let's get a clean CR and get that negotiation done behind closed doors without the pressure and without putting the American workers and the American economy at risk.
Let's bring in travel expert Lee Abamonte with me here in our LA studio. Lee, great to have you here. Thank you for being here. It is really worrying for so many Americans, so many of us planning to travel over Thanksgiving and then into Christmas, into the Christmas season. This has got to get sorted out. What kind of impacts do you see it having, particularly as we approach Thanksgiving?
Well, it's already had an impact on millions of people traveling. I mean, just if you've traveled in the past couple of weeks, you've more than likely experienced delays. Or even if you haven't, you're thinking about experiencing delays. And moving forward, if this shutdown continues, it's just going to get worse as air traffic controllers, TSA, and other government employees lack paychecks. And would you want to work if you weren't paid?
Right. For sure. And, you know, people worry about safety, obviously, with so many air traffic controllers calling out. And then you see these things, not necessarily related to the shutdown, but last night, 2 United aircraft collided on the tarmac at New York's LaGuardia Airport.
What?
Now, we don't know if that is directly related. We've seen collisions outside of a government shutdown, obviously, but it does increase that fear that people are going to feel.
Well, people have had fear for the past couple of years. I mean, since they've had this air traffic control issue, really since COVID, it's only gotten worse. There's been increased incidences both on the ground and in the air, and that's just another example of it. And there's no way to really correlate it, but you know, the longer this goes on, the less people are focused because they're pissed off that they're not being paid, and the American public still thinks about it. And every issue is just like, oh, there's another issue going on. And then you look at Congress just fighting with each other, and it drives you crazy as a flyer.
And we heard from officials that I think it was something like 80% of traffic controllers were calling out in the New York area, and yet they tell us, don't worry, everything's safe. Can we believe that?
I can't speak for them, but I personally, every time I fly, I get anxiety about it, and you don't really know what's going on. Of course, they're going to tell you everything's safe, but the truth is you really don't know. And again, the longer this goes on, and air traffic controllers, which are super important, and that's why they can't just replace them, because they're so important. They're so highly trained specifically at each airport. We don't really know what's going on, but it's always in the back of your mind, and I think it's going to continue that way and only really get worse, especially heading into the holidays, because then the air traffic controllers and everyone else has a lot more leverage because there's going to be a lot more people traveling.
3 weeks to sort it out before the Thanksgiving rush. Lee, great to have you here. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, it's Will.
I mean, if the Democrats want to keep it
to the Fox News
for that
channel
long,
on YouTube, it's the best.
That's going to be the worst case scenario. Like for traveling, oh man, even because people, you don't understand, you guys. Like people travel a week before, like Thanksgiving. They don't go like a day before or 2 days before. A lot of people go a week before Thanksgiving to make it to their loved ones, and this is just going to put so much strain on TSA, and they're not getting paid, and the tower is not getting paid. They're working like on nothing. That's I tell you, man. They should have like a supplemental for these individuals like TSA and the tower and the military and the elderly and the disabled. You know, they should have a specific funds for them, you know, in case the government shuts down, that they're able to fund, you know, the category of individuals that I just mentioned. But you can't just give everyone food stamps. You can't give everyone, you know, just, it doesn't make sense because the government is still closed. That means, okay, you pass out the food stamps, but then they're still not getting paid. The military is still not getting paid. Well, they got paid because a great donation came through of 130 million, but you know that it's going to take a lot more than that. And the fact that these Democrats want to continue to keep it closed because they want to be the number one longest ever shutdown in American history during Donald Trump's like tenure is not raising their points or moral. And they're so far back, they're just continue to dig their hole, and they're already reaching the 6 feet under. And like Trump is up above laughing at them because his numbers continue to go up even during the shutdown. It's incredible. It's these Democrats, man. They're sore losers. That's the problem. And they cry, they bitch, they whine. They that's all they know how to do. They know how to pass the buck. They don't know how to take accountability for anything. Let's go ahead and continue. It's crazy.
Getting obviously worrisome, but you let this thing go on for another couple of weeks and you get into Thanksgiving travel, and this thing is going to turn
hell no, I wouldn't get on a motherfucking plane.
Nightmare.
No,
you couldn't pay
absolutely.
me to get on a
This
motherfucking
benefits
plane
to
right
the
now. Hell no.
Americans who might get cut off from some of the food that they need to feed their children ahead of the holidays. It's going to affect their ability to enjoy the holidays. So this is a big deal. You know, it used to be that Democrats cared about issues like this. I remember back when Obama said this during the government shutdown in 2013.
New York is that is so funny.
Think about this. Shutting down the government just because you don't like a law that was passed and found constitutional. No Congress before this one has ever in history been irresponsible enough to threaten default. to threaten an economic shutdown,
That humor.
to suggest America not pay its bills,
Hey.
just to try to blackmail a president into giving them some concessions. We're not going to submit to this kind of total irresponsibility. Congress needs to pay our bills on time. Congress needs to pass a budget on time.
They're letting them
Congress
happen,
needs to
Rob.
put an end to governing from crisis to
They're
crisis.
letting these Muslims
Republicans
just walk
do not like
over
the
us.
law. They can go through the regular channels and processes to try to change it. That's why we have elections. You do not threaten the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
But yet now,
Love a good flashback like that.
Key word there was blackmail, blackmailing. And
Nice,
it's
Rob.
important to
2-hour
remember,
drive
too,
again. Damn,
that
bro.
Chuck Schumer,
You drive
who once
fucking
called
far.
government
You must be
shutdowns the politics
adding
of
up the miles
idiocy,
on your
famously
vehicle.
said of this shutdown that every day gets better for us. Well, every day's not getting
But
better.
at least
for
you're
everyone.
working
The
your
flight
ass,
delays,
you know? You're
42
working your ass
million
off.
Americans with
You're
SNAP
providing.
benefits. And just
And
one
you're
last
paying your
point on that.
taxes.
Hakeem
I
Jeffries.
commend you for that.
So Washington is run by the big four leaders, right?
Do
The
not get on a
majority leader,
plane
the Speaker
right
of the
now.
House, and the minority
Hell
leader,
no.
and
You
in
gonna
the
fucking get on
minority
no
leader in the
damn
House
plane?
as well. And yet Hakeem Jeffries, out of every House district in the country, Hakeem Jeffries is the
Cities,
sixth
yeah,
most
they did it
impacted
from what I've
by
heard.
SNAP
Yeah,
benefits.
Terry, you're right. They have.
83% of his district
And Michigan,
is enrolled
too.
in SNAP. So you would think that
Like
Schumer, who led us into
Minnesota,
this shutdown, and Hakeem Jeffries,
Michigan,
who's among the most
those
impacted,
areas, like,
would come to
they're
the table
taking
and say
over.
this needs to end.
And I think, obviously both sides are trying to blame one another, but the facts remain. Bipartisan majorities in both the House and the Senate voted to keep the government open at Biden spending levels. A minority of Democrats in the Senate
Terry.
are filibustering.
Oh no,
That's
Terry! I
why
think you're
it
closer
is
to New York than I am.
100%
I'm
Democrats
an hour
who
and
are,
15
responsible
minutes
for shutting the
from New
government
York.
down.
What a great statistic you just
About an hour
put forward,
15, an
because
hour 20,
if 43%
depending on the
of
traffic,
his
if there's any.
constituents
Correct.
are on SNAP, what will happen when SNAP runs out? How much pressure will even Hakeem Jeffries, who's been, by the way, being trolled by the president with sombrero hats for the last several weeks, now he's actually maybe getting trolled by his own constituents, may not be able to come home for the holidays because they're not going to get their SNAP benefits before Thanksgiving unless he relents.
The answer to that, Rachel, is he's either just being pressured by the far left progressives that want Democrats to just fight back and cause these problems, which are self-sabotaging, or he's in denial.
I'm Steve Dusey.
I'm Brian
Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the
Let's go
Fox
ahead
News
and,
YouTube.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving. And that's from the horse's mouth. You heard Obama. You heard what he said. Like, these Democrats don't watch Obama or anything that he did in the past and what he spoke about. Like, I don't understand. The infiltration of the Democratic Party. And I feel like it's a really bad outside source that's funding these idiots to continue doing what they're doing and trying to destroy our country from the inside out. I think all these motherfuckers should be prosecuted and thrown in fucking jail. Throw them in Alcatraz. Like President Trump, throw all these Democrats into Alcatraz. If it don't fit, we'll find another place to throw their asses at. I think there's some space over, El Salvador. El Salvador got some space. I'm pretty sure in that prison they got that Supermax. We could throw a lot of these motherfuckers over there. They're just horrible, man. Horrible people. It's just crazy, man. They're literally fucking crazy. And I don't know. Let's check out this next story here.
To follow developing news just
Out of
hours before
Connecticut.
SNAP benefits were set to pause, 2 federal judges ruled the Trump administration must continue to fund the program. But the question remains, when will that funding kick in? Channel 3's Amanda Callahan is your reporter live in Windsor with a look at how
I'm
food
closer
banks
to
are
the city,
preparing.
yes.
Amanda.
I'm closest to New York City.
Well, Sam, it typically takes 1 to 2 weeks for money to be
I
reloaded
believe.
onto debit cards used in this program, which means that people who rely on the money might actually have to wait some time before they actually
You're
have
closer
it.
to Albany
That's why
than
food
I
banks
am.
like this one here in Windsor are prepared to see an influx of people.
There is no reason why children in Connecticut should go hungry tomorrow.
About 360,000 people in Connecticut
They,
are still
they
in
act like
limbo when
they
it
ran
comes
out
to
of
their
food and
next
don't got no
meal.
food.
SNAP
at
benefits
home.
are set to expire November
Let me
1st
tell you
due to the government
something.
shutdown.
A
But
piece of
two
bread
federal
with
judges
jelly
ruled
on
the
it
U.S. Department of
is all I
Agriculture
needed when I was
must
a
now
kid.
use emergency funds to cover benefits.
They can't deny families, children access to meat, eggs, milk, bread. So this was a win in court, but we still don't know yet all the details.
The USDA has until Monday to come up with a plan, which means this weekend can still pose challenges for families that need help.
It helps them offset their daily
It's
expenses.
a
It provides them with
supplemental.
nutrition,
You're supposed to
rich
come
food,
up with the other
and
half.
just helps them with those
Oh,
expenses.
shut up.
Anita Jubri helps run the Windsor Food and Fuel Bank. Before the government shutdown, they were helping to feed less than 20 families in town, but now that's changed.
We've been seeing in the past week or two about 25 to 30 families each shift. So it has steadily increased.
Jabri says not only has the need gone up, but so has the willingness of people in the community to help out. The backstock room shelves are filled with items ready to be given out.
We've already seen a surge from the community to help. There's a lot of people that want to help. We've had people walk in who want to volunteer. It will be challenging, but we have faced challenges before here in Windsor, and we have a very generous community.
But with about 10% of the state's population using SNAP benefits, lawmakers are hoping the USDA gets the money out quickly.
So hopefully by Monday, we'll get a plan from the secretary of how these benefits will go out the door. But I feel a little bit of relief in this moment.
Now, the pantry is only open to Windsor residents, but anyone is invited to help out. You can drop off small donations here on site when they're open. They also have an Amazon wish list, so you can have items sent directly to the pantry. We have a link to that on our website and on the Channel 3 app. Your reporter live in Windsor, Amanda Callahan, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Well, we're back with a Fox News alert. The FBI is investigating an explosion inside of a building on Harvard's medical school campus early this morning.
Holy shit.
Authorities believe the blast was intentional. Jonathan Seri is live with the latest.
Wait, Harvard?
Kaylee, we have some breaking information. The Harvard University police have released images of two potential suspects. These images captured on closed-circuit
I told you they're here,
security
these motherfuckers.
cameras. The suspects' faces are partially covered, but university police are asking the public that if they recognize these individuals to contact them as this investigation continues. The FBI has joined local authorities in the investigation. The explosion took place on Harvard's Longwood Medical Campus, which is actually located across the Charles River from the main campus. Just before 3 a.m., University Police dispatched an officer to the Goldenson building to investigate a fire alarm activation. The officer saw two people fleeing the building but was unable to stop them. Entering the building, the officer determined an explosion had occurred in an area on the fourth floor, and an initial assessment by the Boston Fire Department arson unit is that the explosion appears to have been intentional. Investigators believe a single device was involved. They searched the building. They found no additional explosives, and fortunately, no injuries are reported.
I'm sure there's cameras.
Jonathan Seri, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
I'm
Hey, click here
look,
to
Sean
subscribe
Hannity.
to Fox
I'm
News.
sure there's motherfucking cameras in Harvard. Don't tell me there's no cameras in fucking Harvard. Don't tell me that. How the hell did they carry these devices, right? What type of devices? What you know? What explosives was it? Like, I don't know, man. We're living unique times where we got the enemies are within, and they're wreaking havoc, and they're gonna start wreaking more havoc, especially if Mandani gets in. Oh my God, it's like all you're gonna hear when you go over to New York is a bunch of prayers. I guess it's like what, every hour. Every hour they're gonna have like areas where you could grab a mat and kneel down and do your prayers. I mean, I'm not gonna hate on the religion because that's what they do, but a lot of them are not good people. You know, they're very dangerous people, and they just blended in the New York society. And you never know, one day they just go crazy and another 9/11 event. You know, just it's crazy, man. I don't know. All right, let's continue on with the news.
Investigates. A Superior Court judge abruptly resigns after an incident with police, but Yavapai County details initially on what led up to the resignation.
That's where we come in. And now Prescott police body cam footage shows the judge allegedly urinating in the street. Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum has the video, the report, the court filings, after confirming the identity of the public official.
What are we doing? This is disgusting.
It's just after 1:30 in the morning on October 4th, and the woman who just pulled up her pants, sitting on the bench, is now face to face with Prescott police. She is Judge Pro Tempore Christine Schaff Olson. The location is known to many as Whiskey Row at Montezuma and Gurley Street, on the same block as the courthouse plaza where Schaff Olson works. A source who wishes to remain anonymous obtained this body cam footage, providing it to Fox 10. As the officers try to identify her, Schaff Olson's husband gets involved.
Are you her husband?
Yep.
Okay. Can you hang out over by the cab for me?
Nope. What?
Yeah, you can, because I'm conducting an investigation.
For what?
Because I just saw her puking and urinating, exposing herself to several people.
That wasn't her.
That's Jason Olson, the judge's husband, and also the Parks and Recreation manager for the town of Chino Valley. Police say Olson did not listen to instructions to back away, and as he's being detained, officers say he resisted arrest by tensing up his right arm before being taken to the ground.
He's resisting.
Get your ass on the ground, dude.
I'm not doing anything.
515, we're fighting.
I'm not fighting.
Grab the cuffs.
The police report says Schaff Olson showed signs of intoxication and slurred her speech. Schaff Olson was appointed as a judge for Yavapai County Superior Court in 2023. She was a partner for her own law firm for 2 years and has been practicing law for a decade, according to her LinkedIn resume. If you listen closely, she emphasizes her official title.
Minimum, you're getting a ticket.
That's fine. My name is Judge Christine Olson.
The report also says several witnesses walked by minutes earlier and waved the officer down after they saw the judge urinating.
Oh, they visiting? I have no idea. She's useless. She can't even spell her name.
We reached out to the Yavapai County Superior Court for comment. The court administrator's initial news release just days after the incident said Schaff Olson resigned to attend to personal matters. The latest statement from Yavapai County Superior Court says in part, the Superior Court is aware of the allegations against Judge Christine Schaff Olson. This information was brought to the court's attention on October 4. Judge Schaff Olson accepted full responsibility and formally submitted her resignation on Monday, October 6. To ensure coverage of her calendar, Judge Schaff Olson agreed her last day on the bench would be October 31.
All right, this is your citation. It's a misdemeanor for urinating or defecating in public, okay? So you're going to have to sign it promising to appear in court in about a month, all right?
You're going to go see yourself.
Your husband's going to be transported to the Yavapai County Jail. He'll be booked in there.
Jason Olson was cited for resisting arrest, interfering with a crime scene investigation, and obstruction of government operations. His employer, the town of Chino Valley, has not responded to our request for comment. Body cam footage shows Judge Schaff Olson struggling to sign the citation.
Nope, right here on the screen. On the screen.
Well, on the screen.
Her attorney tells Fox 10 that she had some sort of medical issue that night, which has no bearing on her performance as a judge, and he's confident that when more information comes to light in the appropriate forum, the matter will be resolved favorably. I'm Justin Lum for Fox 10 Investigates.
Say bye to your husband. Hey, buddy. Honey, I'm sorry that I exposed myself and I had to urinate on this plant. And I gave it some food too, because I threw all my food up with the liquor. They saw me, and the timing was just right to catch this judge doing the like, why would you pull your pants and then pee in the middle, the street's right there, that's a fucking very busy road, in a shopping plaza, and you're just gonna pull your pants and just piss in the freaking bushes, and then you're gonna throw up on top of it. Like, what's going on here? I don't know if she threw up and then pee or threw up. I don't know, but it's just a mess. Oh, thank goodness that she resigned. Personal problems? Yeah, honey, you need to go to an AA meeting. That's what you need to do. That's wild. That's so wild. What else? What else can we come across here tonight? That's wild, because that was a wild story. Why would a judge do that? Like, she? This is how many judges already? Like 2 judges that really the one that released the immigrant from the back of the quarters, and he went like out, and ICE had to run down and catch him, and they did. And but that judge was also um arrested, and now you have this one here thinks she's Britney Spears. Bitch, yeah, you and your husband are a mess, and you're meant for each other, and congratulations, your life's wrecked. There you go. Now fuck off. Okay, let's go to the next story.
First, it was crown jewels at the Louvre. Now, a major museum theft right here in the Bay Area. The
What?
Oakland Museum of California says the thieves made off with more than 1,000 priceless objects from its collection. Native American baskets,
Why would they
jewelry,
do that?
photographs, even ivory, all taken
Oh
from the
my
museum's
god.
off-site storage facility. But even as the FBI investigates, Katie Nielsen explains why museum officials do not believe this was some sort of sophisticated heist.
The Oakland Museum of California really focuses their collections on objects used in everyday life by Californians throughout the state's history. The director says the more than 1,000 objects that were stolen are
1,000.
irreplaceable in terms of historical value, but don't really have a significant value on the black market.
We have really one of the greatest holdings of California history anywhere.
Lori Fogarty is the director of the Oakland Museum of California and says their collection includes more than 2 million items, only a handful of which can be on display at any given time.
So we, in our collection, have over 5,000 Native American baskets.
Most of the items in the museum's collection are stored in an off-site warehouse, which is where burglars broke in sometime late into the night on Wednesday, October 15th, or early in the morning, Thursday, October 16th.
It is heartbreaking for people who really
Damn.
dedicate their careers to preserving and stewarding and caring for and presenting
1,000
objects of
items.
cultural and artistic importance.
Some of the items stolen include an old photograph, some jewelry,
Yeah.
a woven Native
Terry, I
American
agree.
basket,
It's stupid.
and
They
scrimshaws,
still have their
which are
jobs.
ivory carvings, leading Fogarty to believe this was probably a crime of opportunity.
I think it is very
Oh, these people are
possible
going to
that
be
the people who stole
cursed.
these items don't really know themselves what
Whoever
they have.
comes across
Stealing from
these
a museum
items are
is
going to be
actually
cursed.
a federal offense. So the FBI's art crime team has gotten involved in the case. We spoke with former FBI Special Agent Jeff Harp about this specialized task force.
It's a small cadre of agents across the nation, probably less than 20. They have a lot of expertise in how these art deals are done, where a lot of times these, irreplaceable art pieces end up and sold. A lot of it's done underground, but these guys have a pretty good network of informants and information that allows them to track a lot of this stuff.
In 2012 and 2013, a man broke into the museum itself, stealing items from the Gold Rush exhibit both times. But police were able to catch the suspect when a pawn shop owner in Chinatown recognized a stolen jewelry box and called police. Fogarty hopes by releasing some photos of the items stolen 2 weeks ago, eagle-eyed members of the public might be able to help the museum recover them.
If people are at swap meets or they're at auctions or they're in a pawn shop or an antique store and something looks like,
Like
please
Indian,
let us know.
like
A basket. Okay. As for the Louvre heist, investigators in Paris are still trying to locate the stolen jewels. They've arrested 2 people who have a role in the brazen daytime who actually broke into the
Damn, what charges? Criminal conspiracy. Oof. All right, let's keep it moving.
United Nations Ambassador Mike Waltz is thanking rapper Nicki Minaj for her support as President Trump opens the door for sanctions to be imposed on Nigeria. Trump says Nigeria is failing to rein in the persecutions. The president announcing Friday that he would designate Nigeria, quote, a country of particular concern, move pushed by some U.S. lawmakers. Now, we do have this post right here from President Trump. He did post it on his Truth Social. He said Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern, but that is the least of it. When Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide, something must be done. I'm asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and his House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and report back to me. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. Then we do have Nicki Minaj, who actually quote tweeted that post from President Trump, saying, reading this made me feel a deep sense of gratitude. We live in a country where we can freely worship God. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion. We don't have to share the same beliefs in order for us to respect each other. Numerous countries all around the world are being affected by this
Nicki
war,
Minaj.
and it's
She's
dangerous
all
to
right.
pretend we don't notice. Thank you to the president
I
and
like
his
the little
team for taking
Starship
this
song.
seriously.
People.
God bless every persecuted Christian. Let's remember to lift them up in prayer. Ambassador Mike Waltz then posting this at Nicki Minaj, saying, thank you for using your platform to speak out in defense of the Christians being persecuted in Nigeria. We cannot allow this to continue. Every brother and sister of Christ must band together and say, enough. If you ever find yourself in New York, come by the U.S. Embassy, United Nations. I would love to speak with you in more depth about what our administration is doing to protect Christians' freedoms all over the world. So again, Ambassador
That's a
Mike
very
Waltz
good
inviting
offer
Nicki
from Nicki
Minaj to
Minaj.
head to the United Nations for a meeting. We'll keep you posted, of course.
Ooh,
if
you
that
know she's
does
gonna take up on that. She's definitely gonna take that offer. She would be dumb not to. She knows how to conduct herself, and she has some wild videos, you know. But that Starship song is pretty cool. It was a hit. It was a really big hit. A couple of summers, like how many summers ago? Probably like more than like I don't know when that song came out, but it was a good song, and it was all right. A lot of dancing, a lot of live dancers too. It was pretty good. Um, yeah, I'm opening up some more videos for us to watch because, like I said, I haven't seen them yet, and watching it together with you guys because I would be doing this on my own. I'm just bringing you guys along for the ride, and thank you for coming through and spending the night with me. It's much appreciated. And I'm standing by seeing if there's any uploads. Definitely would like to check that out. Give me one sec to set them up. Okay, you gotta resize them because I would like everything clean. So that's why I say resize is to get rid of all the shit like the videos and all the titles and all that stuff. Don't need it. Like we go straight to the story. So,
Her mouth was on.
Let me see. We're gonna set this up. Okay, let's see. This one wanted to start, so I guess we're gonna go with this one. Let's clear this out. Got a couple of ones to clear out. Bring some of the important news to the front. And I think we got a good lineup here. Yeah, I think we've got a great lineup here for tonight. All right. All right, here we go.
Her mouth was on fire. That's what a mother is saying about her daughter after she drank a margarita while out at a Mexican restaurant. So what was in the margarita? Here's Allison Hall.
Holly Hill was a beloved middle school teacher and a mother of 3. But a Valentine's Day date with her husband, Brandon, turned tragic in a shockingly unexpected way. She ordered a margarita at this Mexican restaurant near her home in Oklahoma. After just one sip, she ran to the bathroom and called her mom.
She immediately called me from the bathroom and told me that she needed to go to the emergency room.
What was she telling you?
She said there was something in my drink and my mouth's on fire and I'm not okay.
At first, doctors thought Holly had simply sipped a margarita that was too spicy. But when her condition got worse, she received a shocking text from the restaurant manager. Somehow, Holly's margarita had been mixed with industrial oven cleaner. The brand name is Glitter. It's a grill, oven, and deep fryer cleaner. And look at the warning label, corrosive. A scan showed Holly had catastrophic internal injuries.
Oh my
The GI
God.
doctor said that her esophagus looked like hamburger meat,
Oh no.
that the chemical had ate part of her esophagus.
Brave Holly kept a heart-wrenching video diary of her struggle to stay alive. She couldn't eat and was forced to use feeding tubes for sustenance. But after 2.5 agonizing years and more than 60 surgeries, Holly lost her battle.
She was gasping for air and flailing her arms around, and she said, "Mom, I'm dying, and I need you to know that I love y'all." I really did not think that she was going to die.
How Holly's margarita came to be mixed with a toxic fluid remains a mystery. The restaurant says everyone was deeply saddened to learn of the passing of Holly Hill. The individuals involved in that incident were terminated.
I would like to see criminal charges, and I think they need to be held accountable.
A criminal probe has been launched into how Holly was served that deadly margarita.
Oh my God. I was not I'm sorry if that caught you off guard, but that scared the shit out of me. A fucking margarita. How the fuck you have this like corrosive liquid you mix in with a margarita? How do you do that? Oh. Oh man, that restaurant is definitely going out of business. They better have very good insurance and good attorneys too, because a lot of them are going to be going to jail. And man, and she just took a sip, and it destroyed her esophagus. It destroyed her insides. I need to take a break. I need to smoke. I'm not high enough, but my God, I am not high enough for this stuff. I was not ready for that story. That story hit me. A fucking margarita. Like I heard this voice in my head that said, "I know, right?" It's wild. I'm just trying to figure out how did that chemicals, whatever the chemicals that we're using, oven cleaner? How does an oven cleaner get into a margarita? Like I'm dumbfounded. I've had margaritas before in my days. Now, I haven't drank in a long time. I don't drink alcohol, but back in my days, I have. and they're really good. They taste good. But with her was just one sip. One sip. Burn her mouth, burn her esophagus. Like, she suffered, man. She suffered. And I hope that family gets every dime they can off of the insurance of that restaurant. How did that happen? It's just, do they have cameras? Like, do they have like video? Like, that's why I'm like, in the future, I see like cameras everywhere, right? I see in the future, like they're gonna put cameras inside airplanes that is gonna constantly monitor the passengers throughout the flight. And it's not gonna just be one camera, it's gonna be several cameras throughout the airplane. And it's all gonna be connected Wi-Fi. So the future planes are it's definitely gonna be more evasive for sure. But man, God rest her soul, man. That was painful, man. That sucks. All right, let's continue on with the news. That sucks. What a horrible story. That one really fucked me up in my head. All right. Let's go.
For more, let's bring in New York Congresswoman and House Ways and Means Committee member Nicole Maliotakis. Congresswoman, welcome.
Thank you.
So all New York City area airports are being impacted by the shortage of flight air traffic controllers from the FAA. Quote, currently half of our core 30 facilities are experiencing staffing shortages, and nearly 80% of air traffic controllers are absent at New York area facilities. After 31 days without pay, air traffic controllers are under immense stress and fatigue. What is your reaction, Congresswoman?
Look, this is an unfortunate, it was an avoidable, manufactured crisis by the Senate Democrats. There's no reason any of this should be happening. They simply need to vote for the same bill that they negotiated, that they voted for, and that they voted to extend 3 consecutive times. And this shutdown would not be happening right now. It's very unfortunate we're in this situation. I feel for those air traffic controllers, about 13,000 across the country, that are going without pay. And yes, they're being strained. There is a real problem. We're going to see it get worse as we're approaching the holiday season. And so my message to my colleagues, particularly my own senator, U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer, is to stop the shenanigans. Deliver the 7 votes for the bill that you negotiated with Joe Biden and House Republican leadership last year. You voted for it 4 times. There's no reason for any of this to be happening, whether it be these travel delays, whether it be the SNAP benefits not going out, whether it be the WIC money perhaps not going to women and children. None of this should be happening. It's happening because of Chuck Schumer not willing to do his job because he's afraid of the radical left.
Let's play the clip. I'll get you to react.
First,
Republicans on Prescott Day, and you know what, to the American people, these people are stone cold extremist liars. Talking the word of truth to the American people.
Is that kind of language helpful?
Well, first of all, he's lying because when they call this a Republican shutdown, the Republicans voted to keep government open. The Republicans voted for a continuing resolution that had no political gimmicks, no outside unrelated policy that was attempted to be snuck in. We voted for a clean extension of government. Hakeem Jeffries and his colleagues, the Democrats, they all except one voted to shut down the government. And then Chuck Schumer refused to pass our House-passed bill, and he not only shut down the government, but he had 13 chances to fix this, and they chose not to. They made a conscious decision, knowing military wasn't going to get paid, our law enforcement, our federal employees wouldn't get paid, that women and children would go hungry without the WIC program, the SNAP program, that we have 42 million Americans who rely on it, including nearly 3 million here in New York. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer voted to stop funding it. And so thankfully, President Trump has stepped in here to allow the WIC program to continue, which our women, infant, children rely on. He stepped in to make sure our military was paid, and hopefully we're going to see some action as well with SNAP, where he can legally move some money. But the fact remains that Democrats want to point to Republicans, but they're the reason we are in a shutdown right now, because they won't vote for the same bill that they previously voted for 4 times, and it is inexcusable.
We're running short on time, but I want to get your reaction to the New York City mayor's race. Are you ready to call Zohran Mamdani Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely not. I'm hopeful that the people in this city will vote against him. The bottom line here is this is somebody who wants to take this city in a very radical direction, from wanting to implement the policies of Karl Marx's communist playbook, saying he wants to abolish private property rights and purchase property and turn them into communes, to seizing the means of production and having government run supermarkets, which is what my mother fled from communist Cuba. To the radical defund the police movement that he led, calling the NYPD the greatest threat to public safety, wanting to legalize prostitution. It would be a disaster for New York. And I remind everyone, when I ran for mayor in 2017, only 25% of registered voters came out to vote. We cannot have that this time. People need to get out and vote. And if they get out and vote against Zohran Mamdani, he will not be the next mayor of the city of New York.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis of the great state of New York, great to see you. Hope to see you back on Capitol Hill soon when the government's reopened. Thanks so much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
Hey,
Brian Kilmeade.
hopefully if it opens, like hopefully. All right, let's keep it moving here.
For the latest shutdown, let's bring in House Administration Committee Chairman Brian Stile. Congressman, welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
So the optics of the government shutdown are not great. You got flight delays. You've got air traffic controllers working more than a month now without a paycheck. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries is blaming President Trump. Let's play it, and I'll get you to react.
Donald Trump has spent more time talking to Hamas and the Chinese Communist Party than he has in talking to Democrats
This guy's a
on
fucking
Capitol
idiot.
Hill to end the Trump shutdown.
This guy's a fucking
Mr.
idiot.
Chairman, how do you respond?
This guy's a fucking idiot.
The consequences of the Schumer shutdown continue to build. It's Republicans and President Trump that believe we should reopen the government. In fact, we passed legislation now over a month ago to do just that, a clean CR with no policy changes, continuing funding at historical levels. And if we look at the Senate, Chuck Schumer has voted for that 13 times during the Biden administration, 29 of the past 30 CRs. Chuck Schumer and Democrats in the Senate have supported. What changed on this one? The politics have changed, not the policies. The Democrats are beholden
I agree,
to their
Terry.
radical base, and you have to look no further than the mayoral election, not only coming up in New York City, but in Minneapolis or Seattle. The radical left of the Democratic Party is who is driving the ship, and Chuck Schumer is willing to allow the chaos and the consequences to continue to build for his political benefit, and it's a disaster for the American people.
2 federal judges late yesterday ordered the Trump administration to come up with the money to keep those SNAP benefits continuing on. While I do not want to see people go hungry, if you make carve-outs for things like that, does that create any incentive to reopen the government?
Well, this is yet another stopgap measure that doesn't solve the underlying problem. The underlying problem should be that we should pass the clean CR and fully reopen the government. This stopgap measure provides funding that doesn't even equal 1 full month. Of course, these emergency funds were in place to make sure, for example, if there was, say, a hurricane, that there'd be funds available to surge into a given location. And so this is less than 1 month's funding. It provides additional chaos into the system. Yes, it does provide some relief for families who do need food benefits. 700,000 families in the state of Wisconsin are dependent on this program. But the long-term or substantive solution should be Democrats in the Senate changing course and providing full funding for SNAP benefits so that families who are dependent on this program or air traffic controllers across the country know that there is a substantive and long-term solution that continue to build.
To another red-hot issue from Politico, Democrats plot messaging blitz ahead of Obamacare hikes. Quote, in Wisconsin, Democrats are launching nearly 400 canvassing events this weekend focused on health care. A major liberal advocacy group, Protect Our Care, will push a 6-year digital campaign. How is that issue playing in your district?
Well, this is where the importance of getting the real information to the American people is so absolutely essential. It's nothing new to know that liberal causes are going to be out trying to distort information in the state of Wisconsin or across the country. It's where we have to get out and explain to the American people what's going on, because the broader corporate legacy media will fail to do that. It's actually Republicans and President Trump who continue to stand up for common sense to make sure that we're providing that critical programs are funded. And it's Democrats and radicals in the United States Senate that continue to get in the way. It's unquestionable the Democrats are going to try to distort exactly what's taking place. But the reality is very clear. Democrats are playing politics with the lives of Americans, with air traffic controllers, and with SNAP benefits. And the chaos continues to build until Democrats in the Senate come to the table and reopen the government.
Many folks are likely getting sticker shock as they look at Obamacare premiums this weekend. Is Congress going to need to do something about that issue?
We know that healthcare is too expensive. The Affordable Care Act made healthcare unaffordable. We have an absolute need to make sure that we're working to lower the costs of healthcare. It's Democrats who have put us in this position. There's a lot of negotiations that we can and should be doing in a program that is ripe with waste, fraud, and abuse, only driving costs higher. We should engage in those negotiations when the government reopens. The Democrats in the Senate want to have a hostage while we engage in those negotiations. We know the best way to do that is to negotiate and have that discussion about lowering the cost of healthcare while the government is open and families aren't struggling to figure out how they're going to make ends meet as food share and SNAP benefits have expired due to the recklessness of Democrats in the United States Senate.
You got about 15 seconds left. Do you think this shutdown ends anytime soon?
You know, I think Tuesday with these elections, with socialists running for mayor, not only in New York City, but in Minneapolis and Seattle and other locations across the country, will be a major deciding moment in time. We need to reopen, and hopefully voters rebuke these socialists who are running for office across the country.
Chairman Brian Stile, the great state of Wisconsin, great to see you. Thanks for your time.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm just letting you know, Tuesday, if we can't just bring Get Back America and we just let these individuals just overtake, it's just because they got so many illegals in their country, in that part of this part of the country, in those cities, they have an infiltration of illegals. We're talking about millions. And of course, if they all go and vote and they vote for Democrat, of course they're gonna get in. So that's why they're getting in that way, because the illegals are voting, and then they're getting these politicians and stuff into office. I mean, that should be illegal. I don't think illegals should be allowed to vote for the American system. I don't get it. I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense. All right, let's check out this. What is it here? It's a short. Okay, let's check out this short real quick. It's a quick short. Let me set everything up over here. See if there's anything. See what this looks like here. Maybe one sec. Okay, we gotta watch this later. All right. Okay, so let's watch this short. This is the bomb, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on.
Breaking news, there has been some sort of explosion overnight at Harvard Medical School, and 2 suspects seen by police leaving the scene. Whoa, what's going on here, folks? Let me share what's going on with an update by the police department about what happened overnight at Harvard Medical School right outside of Boston. Check it out.
Wow.
Harvard University Police Department put out a statement at approximately 2:48 a.m. this morning. A Harvard University Police Department officer was dispatched to the Goldison building on 220 Longwood Avenue in Boston for a fire alarm activation. Upon arrival at the building, the officer observed two unidentified individuals fleeing the building. The officer attempted to stop the individuals before proceeding to the floor where the alarm had been triggered. Upon entering the building, the officers determined that an explosion had occurred in the area on the 4th floor. The Boston Police Department arson unit responded and made an initial assessment that the explosion appeared to be intentional. The Boston Police Department conducted a sweep of the building to check for any additional devices. None were found. No injuries were reported as a result of this incident. The Harvard University Police Department is actively investigating this incident in coordination with local, state, and federal law enforcement partners.
I hope you had a good Halloween.
Now, who could done such a thing? A terrorist? Former student? A professor? Is this eco-terrorism? Narco-terrorism? Earth Liberation Front? Animal Liberation Front? Leftists? Right-wing? Who did this? Let me know what you think. What happened here with this explosive explosion? Was it bombs? Was it chemicals? What IED? What was the target here? Why were they doing this? FBI is investigating. So whoever did this is going to be seen on camera. There's got cameras all over the place. They'll get caught. They'll probably put the images out. Maybe we'll never get the images, but I expect somebody will be arrested for this. Two people, maybe a group of people. Maybe it's Antifa. Let me know what you think. Scary times, folks. Stay safe out there. We'll talk soon. JLR Investigates. Stay tuned.
Great channel, JLR Investigates. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please go over and subscribe to this channel. Let's see, what's this? Oh shit, something else is going on. All right, this is gonna be an add-on. Here we go.
Well, listen, of course, you've got the broader knife crime picture, but this looks altogether much more sinister than just, your annual sort of knife crime statistics here. This looks like a targeted attack on that train, because from all of the eyewitness reports that are now coming through about the way in which multiple people were being stabbed in the carriages, it sounds absolutely horrific. This was the LNER train from the Hull, the 1835 service down to King's Cross Station in London. It would have arrived shortly after 9:15 this evening, but of course is now stuck on the platform at Huntingdon Station. Now, according to multiple reports now, and this is why we can take it as being pretty accurate, because it's more than just one. It's so many different people that have been speaking to different news outlets. It appears that this stabbing attack began shortly after the train pulled out of the station at Peterborough. And then at that point continued all the way to Huntingdon. Now, of course, as compared to some of the gaps between stations, it's not a huge gap, but it's still a good 20 minutes or so to get you to Huntingdon. So it seems that this incident was unfolding with people being stabbed, people being running from the carriages, where at least one knife man, maybe more, were in those carriages, running, trying to hide in toilets, trying to get to the safety of another carriage. We've got reports that from one eyewitness who saw a very badly injured man covered in blood coming down the carriageway, saying that he'd been stabbed, and then shortly after collapsing to the ground in the carriage there. And was apparently taken away by paramedics. By that time, it seems the train had reached Huntingdon itself. So I think we've got some more pictures that we'll be able to bring you shortly as well from the Press Association. As soon as we get those cut for you, we'll send them to you. But in the meantime, all we've really had from the emergency services is confirmation of the incident that unfolded. They said shortly before 20 to 8 this evening that they have a very significant response, and of course you've seen by all those ambulances that the camera just passed there about 20 ambulance vehicles, some of those paramedic units, others the hazardous area response teams, the specialist paramedics that respond to these major incidents. And we heard from the East of England Ambulance Service that some 3 air ambulances, 3 helicopters had been sent to the scene as well. One of those images there, the vehicle passing, looked to me like a HEMS, a HeliMed medical team driving a red vehicle, as they often specialist doctors that are best able to give the best care to someone that's badly injured in the hope of getting them their stabilised and transfers. But one of the, and you're looking now at live images coming to us from the Press Association. That is looking down at the train carriages on Huntingdon Station there, and you can see the torchlight of some of the rail workers there, and I think being illuminated there looks to me to be individuals in, I can't say for sure, obviously paramedics, as we know very well, will wear green. It's possible that there may be individuals that might be under the train. We don't know at this stage. There are torch lights that are shone down towards the undercarriage of that train, stationary at the platform at Huntingdon Station. So what reiterate to our audience joining the images for you, but we're looking at live images now of this train, the LNER service, the 1835 service from Hull Station to King's Cross Station, never got any further than Huntingdon because of this mass stabbing attack in the carriages at Huntingdon Station, and emergency services on police in particular moved in and dealt with the threat. We're told at this point that 2 people have been arrested. And what we're looking down at the moment, as I say, described for our radio audience here, are a number of individuals. I can see those in orange boiler suits that look very much to me to be track maintenance workers that are down there, of course, because anytime you're working rail side down on the tracks, it can, be a dangerous area. You require those specialist teams there. They will have switched all of the powers, all of the electricity off that area, as well as we're seeing ambulances now at the scene as well. I'm not sure if they are moving away from, if this is another group of ambulances arriving at the scene here. They may be actually leaving the area, because I think the main response to the bulk of the casualties happened some time ago, and those individuals have been taken to area trauma units. I should say, in terms of the reaction, apart from the confirmation that's been coming from British Transport Police, Cambridgeshire Police and the East Area Ambulance Service, we of course have had responses from our most senior politicians, which gives you an indication significant this incident is unfolding up in Cambridgeshire is. The Prime Minister said a little while ago, the appalling incident on a train near Huntingdon is deeply concerning. My thoughts are with all those affected, and my thanks go to the emergency services for their response. Anyone in the area should follow the advice of the police. And of course, the advice of the police is to stay away, unless, of course, you're an eyewitness, then you're encouraged to contact the police. Mahmood, of course, the Home Secretary, has also responded. She said, I'm deeply saddened to hear about the stabbings in Huntingdon. My thoughts go out to all of those affected. Two suspects have been immediately arrested and taken into custody, she said. I'm receiving regular updates on the investigation, and I urge people to avoid comment and speculation at this early stage. And Robert Jenrick, the Justice Secretary, has spoken, so has, of course, Kemi Badenoch and Chris Philp, the Conservative Party leader and the Shadow Home Secretary. But the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, saying that sickening news about the attack on passengers on the train in Cambridgeshire. I'm praying for all those who have been injured. Thank you to the police and emergency services who are responding tonight.
Indeed.
So, look, just worth reiterating, you're seeing images there of two ambulances. There are parked up at the moment. It may be an indication that there may be still to receive. I mean, until they get the all clear from the police.
Around.
And remember, you're searching a whole train, and you're searching in the carriages, but you're also searching underneath the carriages.
I think the news is just hyping it up. Okay, let's keep it moving, because I just feel like he's just like, he had nothing else to do Saturday, so he's just hyping up the video. So let's keep it moving.
Okay, so the government shutdown as it stands right now, 31 days, 17 hours into this thing. That means we're technically in the 32nd day of the shutdown. Also, SNAP restrictions. That's something we've been discussing all week. Now Politico has this. Nearly 42 million Americans have lost their food stamp benefits. Standing by is Aaron Pellish. He's a reporter with Politico. He's been tracking this. This has been such a big talker all week, the SNAP angle to this shutdown. Everybody was talking about the beginning of November. It's November 1st. What do we need to know today?
Yeah, you're right, Austin. Everyone was looking at November 1st as this key checkpoint on when and to see if both parties are going to be able to solve this shutdown, barreling toward the longest U.S. government shutdown in history. My colleagues, Grace Yarrow and Marcia Brown, reported that story you just brought up. 42 million Americans losing their food stamp benefits today. That's 1 in 8 Americans. And there's really two ways that this can get solved. One is through the courts. There's a couple federal lawsuits. 2 federal judges have ruled the administration must use emergency funds to pay for the food aid program. It's possible that the Trump administration will comply with that order. President Trump posted on social media last night that he is open to complying with that order pending the right judicial guidance. But even if that takes place, it still could take days and weeks for people to get those benefits. Obviously, we're coming up to Thanksgiving, where that's a really critical issue for people who need that food. The other way is, of course, that the government could reopen and fund that program in full. But we don't really know as of now whether or not there's any movement on this issue, despite both parties being really concerned about this lapse in benefits. And you've heard Republicans and Democrats in Congress really concerned. You've heard Republicans, Democrats, governors, and legislatures in states scrambling, trying to keep this program funded. But you're right, Austin. This was kind of a big checkpoint in terms of how close the government would be to coming to a resolution on funding the government. And we've barreled right through it, and we're kind of now at in a new frontier in terms of how this is going to get solved.
So, Aaron, yesterday, a federal judge ordered the Trump administration to continue to fund the SNAP program during the shutdown. It was phrased this way in the Associated Press. This is going to deliver near-term relief to roughly 42 million Americans. Help us make sense of the judge's order yesterday, if you can. Did it basically aim to avert the crisis altogether? Was it that simple? Because President Trump sent out something shortly after that ruling saying that it wasn't that simple.
That's exactly right. If you read the order, from my understanding of the order and from reading some of the reporting and from some of the lawyers who have commented on this, the order would fund temporarily the SNAP program in full for a short amount of time using emergency funding that is set aside through USDA. The president, based on what he's put out, and again, this is all kind of fresh and new, and this could change by Monday when some of these judges, and there's two cases, one of them that you mentioned, where judges are asking for updates on Monday. There's a chance that the administration could reverse its course, but based on what the president sent out, he seems temperamentally open to the idea of having a judge order the administration to fund the program. But it is a little bit different than him willingly going out of his way to fund the program. There seems to be some unwillingness to volunteer that. He seems to be indicating that he wants to be compelled by a judge to do it, which is a little bit of a tightrope that he's walking there rhetorically. But it's still kind of early days in this lawsuit, and obviously I think the big takeaway from these judicial rulings is that it's clear that there is a administration. They are trying to require the administration force their hand to fund this program that was meant to be a pivot point on shutdown negotiations. If this program does remain funded, whether compelled by a judge or voluntarily by the administration, it does take away that negotiating chip off the table for Republicans trying to pressure Democrats to come back to the table to negotiate the
family of illegals.
So that it's a little bit clear what the politics are, but the ruling, as you stated, is pretty straightforward.
I've been sounding like a broken record for the past month, saying almost every night that both sides, amid this shutdown, have been pointing fingers at one another, and there hasn't been a ton.
Yeah, it's like it's the president's job, right? It's not the judge's job.
To indicate that some sort of
is the judges running the country,
hasn't been seen,
or is it President Trump?
Something that we've seen.
I think the president is the head, the leader.
Anything on Capitol Hill in the coming week that indicates, and this SNAP thing sure does seem to be putting political pressure on Congress in a way that perhaps wasn't happening earlier in the shutdown. Are there any indicators? Is there any reason for some optimism that this thing could get solved sooner rather than later?
I think if you read the fine lines and read the tea leaves, you can find optimism. Just to take you back to where this all started, you remember this, Austin, that this shutdown, Democrats were trying to force this shutdown from the very beginning around one specific issue, which is extending healthcare benefits for extending Obamacare tax subsidies that were going to lapse, and trying to force Republicans on that issue and threatening to, and ultimately shutting down the government because Republicans weren't willing to negotiate on that issue. We've clearly moved away from that issue into what for a period of time was furloughed workers and layoffs and programs expiring for a handful of weeks. And now we're in a period where we're talking about SNAP benefits and food aid expiring today. The posture from the White House and from Republicans has remained the same the entire time. We're not negotiating on specific policy issues without a clean continuing resolution first. You saw the president, I think it was yesterday on social media, call for the elimination of the filibuster. My colleagues at the White House have reported that the president knows that Republicans aren't going to eliminate the filibuster over just to reopen the government. But he's trying to highlight the fact that he needs Democratic help in order to fund the government. And that's his way of doing that. But now we're at a point where it does feel like, and we mentioned this a couple of times, that November 1st, this SNAP benefit expiration was kind of a pivot point. One other pivot point we might see is Tuesday's elections. There's some big elections in various states, in Virginia and New Jersey, in California, that could determine how it will be a better a data case of how each party's voters are feeling about the current state of the country and the current the state of their political parties, respectively. If Republicans, carry New Jersey and do really strong in Virginia and have a better showing than expected in California, then you might see Democrats, be rethinking their strategy on this issue and be maybe more willing to come to the table. As of now, it doesn't necessarily seem like Democrats are taking the brunt of the responsibility or taking the brunt of the blame from voters. An ABC News Washington Post poll that came out yesterday had Republicans by, I think, 9 or 10 points holding more responsibility for the shutdown. That's sort of an increase for Republicans than where those polls were as recently as 2 weeks ago, when voters mostly held Democrats and Republicans equally to blame. But I do just want to share something that happened earlier today. My colleague Samuel Benson, who's at the Republican Jewish Coalition's annual convention in Nevada, where Mike Johnson is speaking, Speaker Mike Johnson, he said in remarks that were largely, in line with what he's been saying about these negotiations the entire time, saying that Democrats need to come to the table and they're trying to appease the most left and radical edge of their base. He said that, quote, "We do have a sense that something may change next week," which is something of an indication that there's more wiggle room and leeway to come back to the table. He was pointing in that case specifically about Tuesday's election, that after the election, he was projecting or hoping, or maybe baselessly hoping, but hoping nonetheless, that Democrats would look at the election results and maybe not have to feel like they're covering for Democrats who are campaigning in various states and be more willing to come back to the table now that those elections have passed.
Yeah. I want to just also put a fine point on the fact that our timer on the screen will be entering its 32nd day once the clock strikes midnight tonight. How far are we away from hitting the record, by the way?
Yeah, the longest ever shutdown, partial shutdown or total shutdown in U.S. history was 35 days. You'll recall, Austin, that that was during the first Trump administration. That happened right around the end of the year in 2018, carrying into the beginning of the year in 2019. That was 35 days. Again, that was not a total government shutdown. There were still some essential functions that were still funded. But one of the things that did pivot the negotiations in that period of time was an issue that we're seeing around the country today, which is a lack of air traffic controllers and slow travel, processing and delays at airports and things like that. That's something that we're seeing now. I think nearly 50% of the major airports had shortages of air traffic controllers. 80%, 4 in 5 airports in the New York area, or 4 to 5 air traffic controllers didn't report to work in the New York area on Friday. So this could be another pivot point, especially as we get closer to Thanksgiving. That'll be another pivot point for these negotiations. If air traffic controllers, if TSA agents who are required to come to work but will not be getting paid, and many of them are not showing up for that reason, if those people continue not to show up as Thanksgiving approaches, that could cause real problems in the travel infrastructure in the U.S. and could put more pressure on Republicans to finally come to a deal on something, or could put more pressure on Democrats, depending on other factors, of course.
Yeah, something that Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has been focusing on, we know. One other thing I want to hit with you before we go. I was reading a piece that you wrote saying that members of the media...
All right, let's keep it moving. All right, hold on one second. System here says the audio's down, so let me just reset it up. Just take a moment. All right, here we go.
Venezuelan military targets that his administration suspects are used for drug trafficking. That comes after a series of U.S. attacks on suspected Venezuelan drug boats. Lawmakers were briefed on the operation this week, but Democrats are still taking issue with it.
There's nothing that we heard in there that changes my assessment that this is completely illegal, that it is unlawful.
I wasn't completely satisfied at all. I still have a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I think they owe us some explanations.
I heard no strategy, no end game, no assessment of how they are going to end the flow of drugs
into the United States. Am I leaving satisfied? Absolutely not.
Joining me now is founder and executive director at the National Security Institute, Jamil Jaffer. Jamil, always good to see you. I wonder if you agree with those Democrat
Rob's
voicing
heading home.
concerns that what the Trump administration is
Celebration.
doing in targeting these
2 hours
alleged
now.
Venezuelan drug boats is
Don't worry, I
illegal, in
got
their
you.
words.
Well, look, the president
I
has
got some
laid
good
out
stuff
his
lined up.
legal rationale for going down this road. He said as commander-in-chief of the U.S. military and as chief executive, he has responsibility to protect the nation from imminent threats. He says the flow of drugs into the United States that's killing tens of thousands of people is an imminent threat. He's taken action at the border to staunch fentanyl coming through China. And now he's talking about he's taking military action against Venezuelan drug boats coming to the United States. He's talked about taking action as well against Colombian assets as well with respect to cocaine. So the question then becomes, what is Congress going to do about it if they think that he's acting illegally? They can either authorize the use of military force, they can do nothing, they can fund the military to do these actions, or they can complain. And so at the end of the day, it's really on Congress to take action. They can also stop the president or try to limit the flow of funds to him to allow him to do that. But, you know, they have to take action to do that. Right now, the president has asserted his commander-in-chief authority, as have presidents for 250 years.
And we heard one of the Democrats there, Jamil, saying, I don't hear anything from the administration about a plan to stop the flow of drugs. Well, I think the administration response to that would be you strike fear into the hearts of those drug smugglers and that is the plan, because they will stop doing what they're doing. Do you think that is an
drugs for the better part of 3 decades. It hasn't worked very effectively. And there are lots of Americans dying as a result of illegal drugs flowing in, primarily, to be fair, from China through Mexico and the fentanyl trade. Now, there are drugs that are coming from Venezuela that are problematic, and the president is now taking affirmative action to address that. The question becomes, will that be effective? And I think the answer is, look, I mean, when you see people dying on the battlefield and boats being blown up, it's got to, you know, at some level make the drug dealers think twice about running those boats across the Caribbean. They've now got an aircraft carrier there in the Caribbean, along with its entire battle fleet and battle group. And the question becomes, will they be used against those assets? And if so, wouldn't that strike fear in the heart of any nation state, much less a drug cartel? I think the answer is yes.
Right. And Jamil, you talk about the resources that we have there. Do you think there is any prospect at all that at some point those resources are used to strike any targets on land in Venezuela? Because that would clearly take us to a very different situation.
I agree. That would be a very different situation than conducting strikes in international waters against drug dealers. But look, the United States in the past has undertaken such action. We've said to countries around the world that if you are unwilling or unable to control your territory being used by terrorists and other transnational criminals, we will come after you. We've primarily only done in the terrorism context. Now President Trump is suggesting he might do it in the international criminal context, specifically with respect to drugs. We'll see if he actually goes down that road. It obviously changes the game dramatically. It puts us essentially in a potential state of war with another nation state. Of course, Venezuela is not going to be able to effectively punch back against the United States, but that's a big decision to make. The president hasn't yet made that decision, although interestingly, he has said that he's authorized CIA covert action in Venezuela. We don't know what that means specifically. It's unusual for a president to declare that publicly because that's the whole point of covert action is it's non-attributable. So we'll see what happens going forward. But if that does happen, you're right. That is a massive change in what we're doing.
Yeah, it is a fascinating situation to watch unfold, and we're grateful to have you guiding us through it. Jamil Jaffer, thanks very much for your time, sir.
Okay, so let's bring it back to me for a moment. Let me resize a couple of videos here. Got a pretty good lineup, you know. It's a good lineup, couple of add-ons. And I actually got to add one more on. And that one is going to skip a lot of these videos because it's pretty important. Give me 1 second. All right. This one's going to take the skip to the top. Yeah, this is we're going to Send this one straight to the top. This is the next one we're gonna watch. It's pretty important, you know. We had an attack in a school, a Harvard Medical School building. So there's more videos coming out. So let me just set this up. All right, here we go.
The FBI has now joined the investigation into an overnight explosion inside the Harvard Medical School. Police now believe that blast was intentionally detonated. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken McLeod. A responding officer actually saw two people running from the building but couldn't catch them. WBZ's Samantha Cheney is live for us on Longwood Ave right now. Sam?
Have a safe ride.
Good evening, Ken. Yes, well, all day we've seen FBI officials parked here on Longwood Avenue. Agents have been going in and out of Harvard Medical School's Goldenson building, where we're told this explosion happened just after 2:45 this morning. And now I want you to take a close look at a few photos. These are the people that police say may actually be responsible for this explosion. The men on your screen, police say they were caught on camera inside of the building where this all happened on the 4th floor. We're told a fire alarm was actually what triggered police to come over here. We're told that they came, and when they got here, they actually saw those suspects running out of the building. We're told they tried to stop those suspects, but was unsuccessful. Now, fortunately, the police tell us no one was actually injured during this incident, but the situation was scary for a lot of folks. It leaves some people in shock and others saying they fear for their safety.
Especially if this is a recurring thing, like if this is not just a one-time thing, obviously that's scary, especially being so close to here. You don't want to ever hear that, even from afar, but being close to here, it's very scary.
I think it's sad and yeah, shocked, because I wonder like why they would do it, and like if people were there, like they could cause like a harm to someone.
Now, the police, they tell us they did do a sweep of the building looking for any other explosive devices that could cause harm to anyone. We're told none were found, but right now they are asking for the public's help. They're asking that if you know these two suspects or know any information that could help them track them down, you contact police immediately. Here in Longwood, I'm Samantha Cheney, WBZ News.
All right, let's keep it moving. Our favorite person here.
Norfolk, Virginia, where Mr. Obama just finished speaking. Rich.
Hi, good afternoon, John. The candidate's now shaking hands here. Former President Obama just wrapped his remarks, and he's going to head up to New Jersey for a rally there in a short while. The last time President Obama said he was here was when he was running for re-election in 2012. This time, he's working on electing somebody else. That's former Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. The former president opened attacking the current one, accusing this White House of lawlessness, recklessness, mean-spiritedness, and craziness. Obama also accused the Trump administration of caring more about a new ballroom than rising prices.
Is the economy working better for you? Because it sure has gotten better for Trump and his family.
Now, Spanberger has taken Obama's approach, promising bipartisanship and tying her opponent, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, to the White House, federal worker cuts, and tariffs.
I will always stand up for Virginia families. I will always work to grow our economy, and I will always put Virginia, not a president, not a party, first.
Earl Sears says Spanberger is no moderate, especially on trans and energy issues, and her refusal to call for Attorney General candidate here in Virginia, Jay Jones, to drop out of his race after his violent text from 2022 emerged. Jones even spoke at today's rally a couple of hours ago. Obama is now headed to New Jersey to campaign for the other Democrat running for governor, Mikey Sherrill, in New Jersey. She's facing Republican Jack Ciattarelli. Sherrill is also trying to tie Ciattarelli to the president, President Trump. Ciattarelli has campaigned
Rob,
on
you better
increases
focus on
in
your
energy
driving.
costs in New Jersey under a Democratic
Obama.
administration there. Obama's rally is scheduled for later this afternoon. He's on his way there to Newark. John, back to you.
Rich Edson. Rich, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Yeah.
Hey, click here to
All right. Let me
subscribe to
click
Fox
here
News
to
YouTube.
pause you. Give me a second. Took my last hit there, so it took a moment. Let's bring it back to me, and it's reset some of this stuff here. Okay, this is an older story, but it's catching my attention. So I think I'm gonna click it and we'll watch it later. But it just catching my attention. Just a lot of things. Yeah. All right, give me a second. Gonna put this over here. I'm gonna go to the next story. I don't know if that's gonna be the next story. Okay, so no. All right, let's see a story out of guess we're going to go to Jamaica Mon. So let's check out a story from Jamaica. I feel bad for them. I think they should get some of the SNAP money. I mean, it's an emergency, right? They said it's only for emergencies. That money is put there for emergencies. And I think as Americans, I think they say, look, if we get all the illegals out, right? We get them out of the program, and like no more of that. No food stamps, no housing, no childcare, no daycare, none of that shit. Go back to your country and do that over there. And why you got to put it on our dime? I think that's fucked up. That's not right. That's really fucked up. But let's go ahead and watch something that's truly devastating, that I believe that deserves more attention than what the Americans are going through. Oh my God, we're not getting our funds. It's been day 1 is almost coming to an end. Day 2, day 3, we're gonna go into Walmart. We're taking everything at 7 a.m. Let's go. Like, right. Try. I mean, they got a lot of security. My Walmart had 5 securities on each exit, and there's 2 exits out of a Walmart, and on both sides had 5 security officers, and they're all checking tickets. That's wild. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue here. Let's watch what's happening over there.
We are continuing to track the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa right now at 6. We're showing you video coming and showing the carnage left behind by the storm in the Black River area of Jamaica. Homes left in pieces, and locals still looking for more supplies as they rebuild their lives on the island. Closer to home, taking a live look at Miami International Airport, where flights from the Caribbean are continuing to come in. It comes as airports were closed in islands like Jamaica as Hurricane Melissa pummeled the country. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Chelsea Jones. Travelers are starting to come home from Jamaica, Cuba, and other islands that were impacted by this monster storm. CBS News Miami's Nakaya Carrero joining us live from the airport. Nakaya, what have you been hearing? Well, Chelsea, these people are coming through arrivals here at MIA, still visibly shaken from their experience. One man we spoke to says everyone at his resort in Montego Bay were in complete distress the entire time. Now, American tourists who are
It's just
returning
fucking
from their
scary.
dream vacations
It's
in
not,
Montego
that's
Bay
not.
say it turned into their worst nightmares. One traveler told us parts of the resort he stayed at were completely flattened by the storm. There was no Wi-Fi or cell service once the storm passed, so making travel arrangements to get back were difficult. The people we spoke to detailed what it was like riding out the storm as well as the journey out of the country.
Like in distress, everybody. It was like almost gonna be like a whole thing with everybody. He was frustrated. It almost went crazy.
We had to literally catch a bus from Montego Bay and pay a lot of money to get to Kingston. So they were price gouging.
I just had to think about what, God. I had to know that he was going to take care of us. And that's all we could do.
Wow, price gouge.
Now the two flights that were scheduled to arrive here at MIA from Montego Bay were canceled, but the flights out of Kingston are still resuming. And of course, we are seeing people come through here not wanting to talk, but we are trying to speak to them. Of course, we will be here throughout the evening and bring you their stories tonight at 11 right here on CBS News Miami. Live at Miami International Airport, Nikaya Carrero, CBS News Miami.
Okay, let's keep it moving.
Man's death from drinking liquid meth camouflaged as Canadian beer is highlighting this country's role in fueling a surge in meth use in New Zealand.
He was screaming out, I want my mom, I want my mom, I'm dying.
So that's Billy Segala, and he's describing what happened when his 21-year-old brother-in-law, Aiden, took a sip of what he thought was a can of Canadian beer. This is back in March 2023. Well, instead, the can that was gifted to him by his boss was filled with liquid meth imported from Canada, and Aiden died tragically 5 days later. For more on the Canadian connection in this story, we're joined by Avery Hames, host and managing editor of W5. Welcome back to the studio.
Thank you.
This is a wild story, and when you tell me that there were things in this story that you learned, I pay attention.
I learned every step along this way, and I was tipped off to Aiden Segala's story and the Canadian connection, and then I started digging into it. And this realization that Canada is the #1 exporter of meth to New Zealand blew me away. I had no idea. We hear so much about fentanyl going into the United States. We don't hear about our role in what is a devastating crisis in New Zealand. Meth use has doubled in the past year. And doubled in the past. They do wastewater testing there, so they have a really good clue of what's going on with meth use. It has doubled. There's not a community that has not been affected by meth. And Canada, criminals in Canada are supplying that meth.
Well, let's talk about how it's disguised and how it gets there. So you spoke with, we saw this, Billy, Aiden's brother-in-law, who was with him when he took that fatal sip. It was disguised as Honey Bear beer, so a fake brand. How did that lead to, so this is how they're smuggling it, I'm assuming, right, in cans like this?
So this is what's extraordinary. In our investigation, we really tried to reverse engineer the shipment of that beer, which, as you say, doesn't exist. And what we've been able to learn is that somebody in Toronto purchased 29,000 cans of aluminum cans, made those fake labels. They filled the bulk of those cans with real beer. And then they filled about 1,500, 2,000 of those cans with liquid meth, and they shipped it, and it was undetected. The only reason this was discovered was because of Aiden's tragic death. In the storage unit, you showed some images from that storage unit when police raided it after Aiden's death. They found all of these beers, and what they were doing there was they were taking the liquid, removing it, and then crystallizing it for sale in the New Zealand market. Right. The manager, one of Aiden's boss rather, was giving away what he thought was real beer. And Aiden took one gulp and then died 5 days later.
So obviously New Zealand probes this death. They found this warehouse, as you mentioned, and we saw there. It becomes the site of the largest meth bust in that country's history. And so you've talked about how Canada is the #1 shipper to New Zealand. What does that do for our relationship now with this country and anything that's coming into the country from Canada?
I had really extraordinary access to speaking to the top organized crime investigators, top customs folks in New Zealand. We are a Five Eyes country. We are Five Eyes countries. Getting them to acknowledge their frustration on the record was difficult. They talked about great relationships, but the reality is a lot of meth is getting through. And there's a series of massive busts that have been made. One in maple syrup, which was a real brand. Criminals in Canada purchased thousands of cans of maple syrup and filled some of them with meth. One was in canola oil. Canadian officials stopped 6 tons of canola oil. 6 tons, Anne-Marie, of canola oil from getting to New Zealand and Australia. They've put fake meth in and managed to watch it as it went along its way there.
So why Canada? What makes us so prolific at sending out meth? And when you're talking about quantities that big, those are big labs. How are they going undetected?
Massive labs. Canada is seen as a place of vulnerability. And what we know from tracking shipping records is that it's a combination of factors. It's cartels in Mexico shipping meth up through the United States into Canada and then sending it across. It's meth coming from the United States into Canada and then across. And we are also a major producer of meth in this country. In the last 2 years, the RCMP has busted 8 or 9 massive meth labs. There was one in Falkland, British Columbia, that was a university level lab. They were creating new drugs, but they were also creating meth for the New Zealand, Australia market.
So where's our responsibility? What's our government's response to this?
That's so cute. Well, that's my big thing. Like, what are we doing about it?
Yeah.
You know, there's a young man has died. A lot of people are suffering in New Zealand and in Australia because of meth that's coming here.
Yeah.
The reality is, and I understand this, customs is more interested in every country with what's coming into our country than what's leaving. We know that. And
criminals know that.
And criminals know that as well. So it's sort of on each country to stop whatever's coming in. This documentary that airs on Saturday night really is exploring what is Canada's responsibility to investigate once there has been a meth. So when 700 kilos of meth is found in either maple syrup or in beer or in canola oil, does the RCMP do what we did, which is reverse engineer? And I have to say, my investigation goes farther than any RCMP investigation goes when it comes to trying to track down who in Canada is responsible for shipping that meth.
Wow, this is a made in Canada story we do not want, but we want to see this investigation. Avery, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. A reminder, Avery Haynes Investigates Cartel Canada airs on CTV on Saturday, October 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
Pretty interesting. First time I ever watched that, so I don't know. Let's keep it moving.
Good evening. I'm Micah Olma. Now at 6:30, a shocking revelation. The LA Times reporting the historically destructive and deadly Palisades fire may have been entirely preventable. Texts among firefighters show concern about the earlier, smaller Lackman fire still smoldering before powerful winds sparked the Palisades firestorm that ultimately destroyed thousands of homes and left 12 people dead. KTLA's Annie Rose Ramos takes a deeper look at those text messages.
A hiker in Pacific Palisades on January 2nd noticing smoke coming from the ground, zooming his camera into the white smoke rising from the dirt just one day after the Lackman fire ignited here above Skull Rock Trailhead on January 1st. Authorities since arrested this man, charging Jonathan Rindernick for starting that fire.
So it was around midnight, and he went up to this hilltop, and at some point up there around 12 a.m., he ignited a fire.
The January 1st fire restarting on January 7th to become the Pacific Palisades fire, destroying thousands of homes and killing 12 people.
This is crazy. Yeah, this is crazy.
Alice, your house is gone. I'm so sorry, guys.
LA City's fire department saying the Palisades fire was not a rekindle due to failed suppression, but instead the reactivation of an undetectable holdover fire.
The fire was a holdover fire, meaning it was deeply seated in dense vegetation and roots and continued to burn undetected until catastrophic weather ensued,
Yeah, when the
resulting in
wind
the
came.
Palisades fire.
But video like this one shows the fire may not have been so deeply seated, with the ground still smoldering. And now new reporting out from the LA Times claims firefighters were ordered to roll up their hoses and leave the burn site back on January 2nd, obtaining text messages from firefighters who were on the ground that day, who said abandoning the fire was a, quote, bad idea.
Given that there had been a fire and rekindle in the days before January 7th, why weren't additional assets pre-deployed or staged in the Palisades area?
How come we knew these winds were coming? And what did we do to prevent possible rekindles or holdover fires?
Questions now looming about what happened between the time LA firefighters declared the January 1st Lackman fire out and when it rekindled into the catastrophic firestorm that became the Palisades fire, with LA's fire departments now facing the brunt of criticism for failing to fully extinguish that New Year's Day fire.
City fire
They were
department,
told to roll
fire
back.
departments certainly have the tools to check those scenes after a fire. And they had 5 or 6 days before the high winds came up to do that. So those are the questions that some panel needs to be asking. And they're tough questions.
Now, we have reached out to the LAFD for comments about this matter. They say they have received our request and it has been currently reviewed by their administration. Reporting from the newsroom, Annie Rose Ramos, KTLA 5 News.
That just pisses me off. That just pisses me off because they knew. They fucking knew. All right, let's keep it moving.
A Pennsylvania house was stormed last night, and in the basement, police found a missing Louisiana girl hidden in a box covered by a sheet. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Devin Bartolotta.
And I'm Cherise Gibson. The 13-year-old vanished earlier this month from her home in Baker. That's now she's recovering after a dramatic multi-state rescue.
Whitney Miller has the latest details in this disturbing case.
The search for that missing 13-year-old from Baker, Louisiana came to a shocking end on Thursday night when police in Pittsburgh found her stuffed inside a box in a basement. Investigators say 26-year-old Keyshawn Crumity kept the girl hidden for days inside his Brighton Heights home.
An amount of policemen,
What is going on, man?
FBI,
Another one?
U.S. Marshals, up and down the road. And then I saw a girl, which looked like a girl, very small, being pulled out and taken to the right, which was where the ambulance was.
According to police, Crumity met the teen on Snapchat, luring her from Baker to Pennsylvania with promises of safety and adoption. Instead, investigators say he gave her alcohol and edibles, then sexually assaulted her multiple times before police arrived.
You would never think of any so atrocious like that. It's just horrible.
Wow. Detectives say Crumity wasn't alone. A woman from Washington, D.C. allegedly traveled with the teen to Pittsburgh, and the three slept in the same basement bed. The U.S. Marshals tracked the girl's path and then tipped off Pittsburgh police Thursday evening.
It makes me happy that they were making that the arrest, between everybody for that. It's scary, though. Just crazy.
Unnerving.
Unnerving, yeah. Yeah. I'm glad they got the guy.
That investigation also led to the arrest of 62-year-old Ronald Smith in Columbus, Georgia. Police say he and another man drove the girl from Louisiana to Georgia and then put her on a bus bound for Pittsburgh. Crumity is now in jail, charged with child trafficking, multiple counts of sexual assault, and corruption of a minor. The girl is receiving medical care and support as investigators pursue additional arrests and charges.
That's crazy. Holy shit. Let's keep it moving.
Hundreds of piles of cremated remains found in the desert. Now our 8 News Now investigators are learning more about the investigation well underway to find out those people in place. Our investigators break news about that disturbing discovery in Searchlight about an hour south of the valley. That story made international headlines, and today only 8 News Now investigator David Charnes back in Searchlight as another funeral home took care of each and every one.
This is crazy.
Behind every pile, every scoop, there's
but you're not even gonna know who to.
Cremated remains ended up here, miles from the nearest town.
Oh man, you're not gonna get all their ashes.
Southern Nevada desert. Each little mound, one of more than 300 dumped here this summer. From the air, you can see just how expansive an area it really is. And if you look closely, You can see the helpers on the ground Wednesday working to make it right. You saw those piles. What went through your mind?
I think most of us just felt like, what a shame.
Selena DeLulo is the president of Palm Mortuaries and Cemeteries. She and about a dozen others taking each one and placing it into an urn. Dumping hundreds of remains like this on federal land is a crime. And Nevada law requires funeral operators protect the dignity of all remains in their care, no matter if someone fails to claim them.
I don't know if it was the wish for these people to be out here. So that's kind of what goes through my mind. To make sure we have a place for them. I think it's important to us to make sure that these it's important to our community and our profession that we demonstrate how much we do care about these people.
The 8 News Now investigators learning all these remains appear to be from a commercial funeral business, one that likely closed or swapped hands recently. Our investigators have been in contact with a business who we are not naming that fits that description. Its leadership tells us they are not involved. We should also mention these remains have no connection to the funeral home, which the state shut down this summer.
I don't know. Can you test the ashes for DNA? I don't know. I don't know that. Like, what a fucked up. That is so fucked up. That is so fucked up. You pass away. Next thing you know, they throw you in the fucking desert. They throw you in the desert and they don't fucking, no proper burial, no nothing. They was just thrown in the fucking desert. That's sick, man. Let me see. I can't see what that is about. All right, so we got a couple of stories here and a couple of add-ons. I think we got I guess we could see what's this about. Hey, give me 1 second. Okay, I was just setting all this up here. Got a couple of interesting stories. All right. How you guys doing tonight, by the way? Having a good night. All right, let's check this story out.
Killer after a woman is stabbed to death right in front of her boyfriend. Good to be with you.
What?
At 5. I'm Gilma Avalos.
I'm Adam Cooperstein. That attack led to a mother losing her life, and all of it was caught on camera. Here's a look at the video.
Oh my
First,
God.
you see an argument in front of a bar. Then the commotion spills out into the sidewalk, and you see that man in the yellow jacket armed with a knife? That's who police are looking for. Tonight, we are hearing from the grieving boyfriend who was just trying to protect his girlfriend from that guy. News 4's Jessica Cunnington live in Kingsbridge where it all unfolded. Jess.
Wow.
Yeah, Adam and Gilma, that boyfriend, he didn't want to be identified. He is in mourning right now, along with a lot of people here in the Bronx and in the community that she lived in. He says that it went from just a normal, wonderful night out together to tragedy and death that happened right here on this Bronx sidewalk. 1 minute she was here, the next she was gone.
Wow.
This is how loved ones want to remember Pamela Almonte Cabrera, a good friend, a mother to 3 children who just turned 35 last month.
She took care of her kids, hardworking,
She was the
Just
life
having
of the
a good
party,
time.
there for everybody.
Pamela's boyfriend talked to us with tears streaming down his face and cuts on his hand to remind him of what happened. He said he witnessed the woman he loved get stabbed multiple times. He told us it happened so fast. They were leaving this bar on East Kingsbridge Road around 4 a.m. yesterday when an argument turned deadly. He doesn't know exactly how it started on the walk outside, but he says Pamela told him a man seen here in a yellow jacket disrespected her. Surveillance video shows many people were outside when he says it got out of control. He said he tried to intervene, then saw the man had a knife and tried to pull her away. In the commotion, he says he was cut. She reacted and moved towards the guy, and that's when she was stabbed multiple times. Surveillance video shows the chaos. The man in yellow walking away, acting erratic. Moments later, hopping on a moped and driving away. He says he walked away with Pamela the other way when all of a sudden she collapsed. He tells us he knew she wasn't going to make it. She lost a lot of blood.
She was working, her daily was making work for herself here so she can get back to her boys.
Her close friends heartbroken for her daughter who lives here in New York and her 2 young sons in DR. This was where she worked for 3 years as a nail tech on Briggs Avenue in the Bronx. People who knew her stopping by to write messages and light a candle in her honor. Those who loved her just want justice now.
Nosotros lo que queremos es justicia. What's going on with humanity? Like, there is no respect.
Only gonna get worse.
Family members in DR making their way right now here to the Bronx and to New York City to deal with all of this and to mourn together with all the people who loved her here. That surveillance video you just saw, well, it's in the hands of detectives. It is part of this homicide investigation. Police say the suspect they're looking for is about 5'10" and was last seen wearing that yellow jacket. Live in Kingsbridge, I'm Jessica
That's
Cunningham.
not gonna be hard to
News 4 New York.
find. Someone's gotta know where that jacket is. All right, let's keep it moving.
New at 5, 2 people are going to jail for creating dozens of fake children and stealing money from Arizona's education voucher program.
The IT Craig Harris has been following this dilemma for over a year now. He was at the courthouse today in downtown Phoenix. And Craig, what exactly happened?
Hey, good evening, Mark and Kribe. They didn't even live in Arizona, but a husband and wife stole more than $110,000 from the state's lightly regulated voucher program. After a year, they were finally caught. On Friday, they were punished. Johnny Bowers and Ashley Hopkins lived in Colorado in December 2022. Despite living out of state, they were able to sign up several of their kids in Arizona's Empowerment Scholarship Program. Then they created 43 fake kids to get ESA money. That's supposed to go to Arizona families who educate their kids at home or in private schools. Bowers and Hopkins got away with it for about 17 months. Ultimately, they stole more than $110,000 before the Department of Education finally caught them. They pled guilty in August under a plea deal. On Friday, they appeared separately in Maricopa County Superior Court before Judge Mark Brain. Both apologized. Their lawyers asked for leniency.
I know what I did was wrong, and I didn't do it out of malice. I wasn't trying to take from other children.
However, that's exactly what he did, according to prosecutors.
A lot of money when it's all said and done. Frankly, it was a scheme that played out over the course of several years.
The judge sentenced him to 2.5 years in prison. Then came his wife.
I'm incredibly remorseful for our actions.
The judge, however, was puzzled with the plea deals. He didn't agree that Hopkins only should get probation.
Finally, I don't understand the disparate treatment of the 2 defendants regarding jail time. It is the judgment of the court. She should spend 14 days initially in the county jail.
Hopkins was surprised.
I can't go to jail today. My 22-year-old is leaving today. I would be leaving a house full of teenagers, and I had.
Leaving for?
They go back home to North Dakota. And so I have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds in my house. On Halloween night, I have a flight back at 1 o'clock.
The judge then sentenced her to jail from December 15th to 29th. Hopkins declined to comment as she left court. The case is among several that Attorney General Chris Mace has launched into financial fraud in the ESA program. Earlier this month, the AG's office charged a Florida man for also creating fake children to receive ESA money. This month, Dolores Sweet, a former ESA employee at the Department of Education, began serving more than a year behind bars. She and others were charged in a $600,000 scheme involving real and made-up ESA children. Further, a 12 News I-Team investigation this summer found ESA parents were using their kids' money on diamond rings, Kenmore appliances, iPhones, even lingerie. The Department of Education is still automatically approving all those ESA requests up to $2,000. That means no one is stopping any additional fraudulent purchases like the ones that we uncovered this summer. Superintendent Tom Horn said his department plans to audit those purchases at a later date. The program is expected to cost taxpayers $1 billion this school year for about 96,000 kids. I'm Craig Harris, 12 News.
And Craig, you said that it took them 17 months to catch this. What finally tipped the state off to what they were doing?
Well, I asked about that, and the state said, well, they brought an auditor in, they brought some investigators in, and that was how they were able to find them. But it went on for 17 months. It wasn't just like it happened once. It happened, at the end of 2022, and it lasted all the way into late spring of 2024. And so it lasted a long time.
Yeah, you would think having 40-some kids might be a red flag, but I guess not, at least not for the amount of time. Craig, thanks. Yeah.
That's crazy. How the hell? 47 kids? What the hell? You guys are like rabbits or something? I don't understand. And they're fake children. They're not even real children. They're fake. They're invisible kids. They're a bunch of ghosts. Okay. I guess, right? All right, let's go to the next story. This is one wild night. It's been a wild night with the news tonight.
Of course, lots to cover. It's been a busy week. Hal Kemper joining me as we normally do on these Saturday afternoons. Hal, as always, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. 3 stories I want to hit with you today. 2 of them are going to be overseas. One of them here domestically. Let's start off with the domestic story. You no doubt saw this one. A potential terror attack that the FBI said that it thwarted in Michigan ahead of a Halloween weekend had a connection to ISIS, they say. Fox News has learned that. A top federal law enforcement source says that the plot was tied to international terrorism, but more information was not immediately available. The FBI is saying that they arrested multiple suspects. Hal, what does this plot say about the current threat landscape of domestically inspired extremist networks in the United States?
Well, Austin, there are a lot of terrorist threat networks, if you will, threat individuals, threat actors throughout the United States. They cover the spectrum, far left, far right. Of course, you have more things. Sadly, I say the usual, which is ISIS and Al-Qaeda inspired. In this case, these were young men between the ages of around 16 to 20, and they have been communicating a lot online and talking about doing something on Pumpkin Day, which the FBI assumed was going to be Halloween, hence why they moved so quickly once they saw that. But the reports are that they were communicating with ISIS individuals tied to ISIS overseas and Al-Qaeda. And that may have been how they got detected, was that overseas communication with known ISIS terrorists and Al-Qaeda. So that got their attention. In there was talks about going to the gun range, about doing rapid fire with AK-47s and changing out magazines rapidly. All of these things is kind of a culmination of different things, made them think that yes, these are potential terrorists. And of course, Halloween, if you're going to create carnage, there's a lot of carnage that could be created on Halloween. It's just, it's a I mean, just the thoughts are horrific about what they could have done. So that's why the FBI moved in there so quickly. I'm sure if they'd had their druthers, they would have liked to watch them longer. But once they mentioned Pumpkin Day as a possible day of attack, then the FBI had to move in quickly to thwart this plot from becoming anything more than just a plot.
You know, there's still a lot to learn about this exact plot, but in general, how are groups like ISIS still able to motivate people inside the U.S. despite losing territorial control abroad?
Well, there's always frustration all around, and certainly I'm sure they're right now they're trying to leverage the immigration issue, the anti-immigration policies, if you will, of the Trump administration in curtailing immigration and then deportation. And it's not just down to South America or Latin America. You know, it's deportations all around the world, to include to the Middle East and Central Asia. And so they tried to leverage that frustration. The other thing I'd point out is these were immigrants. They come to the United States. They also were in Dearborn, Michigan. And Michigan, if you want to go back historically, has always had a very large Middle Eastern population as a percentage of our Middle Eastern population, Middle Eastern descent as a population, as a percentage of the population. And that goes back to a policy, I believe, that was under the Ford Corporation, might have been under Henry Ford himself, where he was basically sponsoring Lebanese immigrants to come to the U.S. and work in his auto factories. And they became a kind of a, you know, if you will, a foundation to sponsor others to come from not just Lebanon, but from other Middle Eastern countries. And so it's always had a very large Middle Eastern presence. Hezbollah has always been very active in Michigan, and we have seen other Islamic extremist activity stemming from Michigan, simply because they have a kind of a foundation there as a percentage of population that they can work from. Now, originally, a lot of them were Christian. They came over, but over time, more and more were Muslim, both Sunni and Shiite. And within any group, you're going to find some who will stray to the extremes, regardless of what religion you talk about, and that's what they prey upon. What's changed in the last, well, certainly since 9/11, but changed really radically in the last 15 years, is social media and how they're able to pick up on these leanings, and then they literally cultivate these leanings to try and recruit them into becoming, not just like-minded. They find like-minded individuals, but they recruit them into become actual terrorists.
So, you know, situations like this, what do they teach us about the ongoing threat of small cell groups or lone wolf operators, things of that nature? And how does that threat compare to larger scale terrorist attacks?
Well, it is a dynamic threat environment right now. We spent a lot of time talking about hybrid warfare, things done by Iran directly or indirectly, things done by Russia. And Russia, of course, is doing all sorts of things that would certainly look like, from a tactical perspective, like acts of terrorism. But then there are also those who are bona fide terrorists. They are radical, extremists, if you will, violent extremists that do plots and plans. And again, they're from all over the spectrum of beliefs, whether it's domestic far right, domestic far left, whether you have religious extremism across the board, a variety of different things, racist, violent extremists as well, and others. And so what you see is a lot of stuff going on, and in times of uncertainty, and certainly this is probably a time of uncertainty, a lot of shift change out there in the world, a lot of frustration that people are feeling for a variety of reasons. You're going to have some that get frustrated and they start leaning towards a violent extremist belief system, a way to rationalize their frustration, if you will, and then to justify doing violent acts as part of it. So we need to be leaning forward. I think we became, we had the war on terror, and certainly, I've spent a good chunk of my life heavily involved with the war on terror. And a lot of times we look at, these big wars like the war in Ukraine or the war, with Israel, Iran, the U.S. getting involved, Gaza, other things that look more like traditional wars. And we forget there are these asymmetric threat actors who are very active, It's not just overseas. They're active here at home. And we need to stay vigilant and stay aware that these things can manifest themselves into violent plots. And this would have been a horrific plot. Last night, we're handing out candy. We had lots of trick-or-treaters in our neighborhood. And you look at it, from a threat, from a risk perspective or a threat perspective, you got all these people jammed onto the streets, all these different activities tied to Halloween. And you can imagine someone who wants to do something nefarious would look at that and say, okay, that would be something that they would exploit,
Yeah,
just like they do
an
with Christmas
opportunity, yeah,
festivals. And
opportunistic.
we've seen some horrific attacks in Europe tied to Christmas festivals and things. That's something we have to be aware of here. So, stay vigilant, stay attuned, but also, we need to make sure the resources are going to those intelligence, law enforcement, public safety entities that are looking not just on the streets, but looking in the cyber realm, if you will, online, to find threatening language and stuff. And the goal is not to respond to acts of terrorism. The goal is always to prevent them, and that's what happened here. They thwarted an act of terrorism by leaning forward and staying tuned in to what these things could mean.
This is how FBI Director Kash Patel put it on social media. He said this morning the FBI thwarted a potential terrorist attack and arrested multiple subjects in Michigan who were allegedly plotting a violent attack over Halloween weekend. More details to come, thanks to the men and women of the FBI and law enforcement everywhere that are standing guard 24/7 and crushing our mission to defend the homeland, he says. Let's talk about online radicalization, Hal. How does online radicalization factor into recruitment and coordination for attacks like this one? And what more, as you just sort of alluded to, if you could expand on it, what more can be done to disrupt digital terrorist ecosystems?
Well, what you're seeing with online recruitment, if you will, is the terrorists themselves will jump into different chat rooms and social media feeds and stuff like that, and they look for those individuals who are expressing indications that they are looking for something beyond the traditional discussion, something that they're kind of leaning towards something more extreme in their beliefs, and then they bring them in. And eventually they get them off of the more public chat or out of the more public chat rooms, out of the more traditional social media feeds into private chat rooms and bring them over. In many cases, and this has become very common, it's a common espionage technique as well, they will start using online gaming. Online gaming is tougher to track because you have this instant communication that goes on when people are in a virtual game. So they use that as a way to talk back and forth. We've seen spies use that as a standard tradecraft tool for several years, that they will use online gaming. So they will bring them in such a way that they can communicate quite frankly with them. Often cases, and I can't say this is as big now as it was, say, 10 years ago, in many cases, you might find a trip overseas, and it would go to some place where they could meet them, where they would have more control. And in that case, they would really vet them to find out, is this person really a candidate? Are they a true believer? Are they somebody that we can radicalize further? And then use that tool. And so one of the things to look for is unusual foreign travel that might be tied to this. And again, with intelligence, it really is a preponderance of the evidence, if you will. It's almost a civil court standard. We look at a lot of different things. Rarely do we get beyond a reasonable doubt. We usually get a preponderance of things going on where it says, okay, we gotta move, and we need to be proactive and get in there now. And so we're seeing that, with the proliferation of social media platforms, there's just a lot of ways that they can recruit, which is something, they used to do more in-person stuff. If you want to go back, way back when, 25 years ago, the time of 9/11, that a lot of that was in-person recruitment. There was no social media to talk of back then. There was the internet, but it wasn't anything like it is now. And so it was more in-person recruitment. Now they can do pretty much everything in a virtual setting. And we've seen a number of attacks, a number of plots where it appears that pretty much the whole thing, from recruitment to training to everything, was basically, if not done in a virtual setting, was set up in such a way virtually that it could be done.
We have lots more to cover tonight. I wanted to make sure we talked about that one with you, Hal. Hal's going to stick around with us here. We've got much more to discuss, including Venezuela, specifically these drug boat strikes that continue to take place. We saw more videos just like this week. We have not only these strikes to talk about, but also the coordination and the gathering of more and more U.S. military force in the region. Nicolas Maduro, lots to discuss with Venezuela. Hal and I are going to talk about it a little more in depth when we return.
Okay, well, let's keep it moving. Still got more to watch.
In Manhattan, you hear about it, and it gets reported on, and it's followed. No one, not the NYPD, not the city, was prepared for what happened in East New York.
In the shadow of Manhattan's gleaming towers lies a neighborhood with stories that rarely make headlines. Since the 1960s, East New York has been one of the city's most violent areas, a place where lives have been lost, justice often feels out of reach, and scandals are everywhere.
They were financial crimes. Scams led to foreclosures, which led to abandoned buildings, which led to fires and vacant lots.
It was a lot of crime, it was a lot of drugs, it was a lot of abandoned buildings.
People were reluctant to speak with the police. There wasn't that great community relationship.
The problem hasn't been fixed. Everything that led to those crimes are still going on. I'm Stacy Horn. I'm a writer. The name of my book is The Killing Fields of East New York, and I spent several years trying to answer the question, why does East New York have the highest number of unsolved homicides?
My name is William Simon. I'm a former NYPD detective. I worked in the cold case homicide unit, was my last post. I've handled numerous cases in the 7-5 precinct while at that station.
Today, the 75th precinct has a violent crime rate that's 84% higher than New York City as a whole, and 279% higher than the rest of the country.
The 7-5 precinct is one of the largest precincts in New York City. So with that, and with the amount of people that are in this area, you know, you're gonna have a lot of crime.
The neighborhood can be characterized by its staggering number of unsolved murders. The 75th precinct has the highest number of unsolved homicides in New York out of 1,989 murders going back to 1980. About 684 remain unsolved.
Numbers for solving cold cases are pretty grim. A year after a case goes cold, there's a 10% chance that they're going to solve it. 2 years and afterwards, it goes down to less than 1%. And it's not that they're not trying. I mean, in New York, there's thousands of unsolved cases, and what, how many cold case detectives?
Oh, not that many.
Much of the crime in this neighborhood can be traced back to shady mortgage deals and housing scams that tore the neighborhood apart.
In the late 60s, the early 1970s, there were financial crimes that involved mortgages that were insured by the FHA.
A wave of FHA-backed high-risk mortgages targeted poor Black and Puerto Rican families in East New York, leading to mass foreclosures, abandoned buildings, and a fire epidemic that gutted the neighborhood.
Scams on this program led to foreclosures and thousands of abandoned buildings and vacant lots in East New York that grew throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
These vacant lots and crumbling structures became the stage for countless tragedies.
We're in East New York at the corner of Chestnut and Fulton. And this is the site where Valerie Whitley, who was a junior high school student at Franklin Lane, was strangled to death and murdered. Valerie was found strangled to death in a bathtub, and she was strangled by her own scarf. She had gone to a grocery store and didn't come home. Her parents reported her missing, and then word got out that a body had been found, a body of a young girl had been found in this building, so the parents headed over hoping against hope that it wasn't their daughter, but it was. I mean, this was just what East New York families had to deal with then.
Between 1972 and 1986, the 75th precinct saw roughly 484 killings, earning the neighborhood its nickname. East New York was now openly referred to as the Killing Fields. Among many others, 5-year-old Aurelio Martinez was killed by a stray bullet in 1986 when he was playing with his sister in front of his home. And there was 23-year-old Michael Rivera, who was gunned down the day after Christmas in 1993. The neighborhood even birthed a serial killer, the East New York Zodiac.
We're standing in front of the home of Herberto Seda, who became known as the New York Zodiac Killer. He shot 3 people, only 1 died, but he wrote the New York Post and called himself the Zodiac. He thought he had killed them all, so he said, I've killed 3 people and I'm gonna kill 12 people in all. And this is where they finally found him and arrested him.
By the early 1990s, murders hit an all-time high, reaching more than 100 a year. In 1991, the first murder of the year happened just 40 minutes after midnight. From that point on, someone was killed once or twice a week until summer hit and the pace jumped to nearly 4 murders a week.
Julia Parker was a 17-year-old girl who was born and raised in East New York. And it was July 17, 1991, and she was here with some friends in front of this corner deli. And she was sitting on a car, and they were just going to discuss what they were going to do later that night. And Ashmat Ali, her friend, so he was like heading back into the store, walking backwards, and all of a sudden, he hears the shots in her head. She was hit. And the belief that her family had, and most of the people in the neighborhood had, that she was killed because a friend of hers was killed just a couple of nights before, and she spoke to the police about it. And so they believed that she was killed because she talked to detectives about her friend's murder, and this was to keep her quiet about that. But she was likely killed for other reasons entirely, which Bill can address.
Julia was arrested down in North Carolina. She was caught delivering drugs. And that case down there had ties back up to here, to this neighborhood. But basically, there was no new leads. There are a lot of rumors as to who did the homicide and why it was done. But, you know, all those are unconfirmed rumors. And once again, you can't do anything with that.
Today, East New York is a neighborhood in transition, still grappling with crime, but also seeing signs of change.
Going into today, what is the fix?
From a policing standpoint, you have to rebuild that community bond. A community will only be policed as much as they allow it to be policed.
Violence reduction zones, or VRZs, were introduced by the NYPD in 2022 to target areas with historically high violent crime rates, like East New York. In the first 3 months of 2025, the NYPD cited a 50% decline in crime in East New York. While efforts like neighborhood policing have improved relations, historical tensions persist.
Historically, the community and the police has had issues because of how they policed out here, right? Because of the stats, because of the stigma. The way they policed out here has always been with a rough hand. So there's always been a lot of tension between community and police. Over the years, you know, it's gotten a little better because of the workings that has been happening in between community stakeholders like myself and others, and the law enforcement. So it's not as bad as it once was. From personal experience, from having grown up out here, knowing the before, the during, and maybe with the future, is getting much, much better. It's actually a sense of community where people are looking out for one another now more than ever before. I'm not gonna say it's completely safe because we have 190,000 residents of East New York. And so there's still a lot of unemployment out here. There's still a lot of drugs and access to weaponry.
The problem hasn't been fixed. Everything that led to those crimes are still going on. It's nowhere near as dramatic as it was at the time period that I'm writing about. And the community has done a lot to address the problems.
You got to build that mutual trust. And it can be done. It's not beyond reproach. I mean, the NYPD now is probably the most diverse police department in the entire world.
Today it is much more safer, much more people moving in. It's becoming a little bit more diverse, but it's still a beautiful, heavily populated Black and brown community where people are thriving.
I guess, right? Do you believe that story? I don't know. It's crazy. Let's keep it moving.
Diplomats from Germany, the United Kingdom, and Jordan are calling for an immediate ceasefire in the war in Sudan. That's as UN officials have warned that the rebel group, Rapid Support Forces, are tearing through the city of El Fasher in the Darfur region. The militants reportedly killing more than 450 people in a hospital, which the group denies. Foreign correspondent Marcus Moore joins me now with the latest. Marcus, for those not familiar with this conflict, can you walk us through how we got here?
Well, yeah, Ike, I mean, there's obviously been a number of key events throughout history that have brought us to this moment, but more recently, if we go back to October of 2021, there were two generals who staged a coup in Sudan. They include General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who's the head of the National Army, and then his deputy, the leader, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, who leads the RSF, the Rapid Support Force, that paramilitary group. They had been running the country. And then in October of 2023, April of 2023, I should say, is when they had varying beliefs on the future of the country. There had been plans to move to a more civilian rule, and there is a sense that neither general wanted to give up power. And so that is when this war started. These two generals now against each other, and we have seen the fighting that has left millions of people, forced millions of people from their homes, and has resulted in the deaths of scores of people, Ike, and real atrocities that have occurred there, according to observers.
That fighting, Marcus, aid agencies, they're reporting evidence of a genocide. What do we know about those claims?
Yeah, we have heard those claims. Even the United States officials have said that there has been a genocide committed at the hands of the RSF, the Rapid Support Force. And Ike, there are satellite images that have emerged just in the past few days that observers say show some of the atrocities that have occurred, saying that from space, you can see bodies that have been piled up in some areas of El Fasher, including outside that hospital where more than 400 people have been killed. And there had been reports that people who were leaving to try to get to safety, that they were killed in the process of trying to find a safe place to be. So really a horrific situation unfolding there, and really renewing those calls from world leaders across the globe for there to be an end to the fighting there.
Just startling images. What's the humanitarian situation there on the ground right now, then?
It remains dire. You have El Fasher, which is the city in the west of the country, where there are about 200 or between 200 and 260,000 people there, but the city itself remains cut off, we understand. And so, and as you know, Ike, more than a year ago, there was a famine declared, people absolutely starving. And so that situation has not improved at all, and it's only getting worse, according to these aid agencies. And that's why they are renewing their calls, and the calls are growing louder for there to be at least an end to this war, to be able to feed the people there, and then figuring out the rest of this the situation from there. Ike, just keep in mind here, this war made for the largest displacement of people in the world. We're talking about some 12 million people forced from their homes because of this fighting.
Today is Halloween, and while everyone is getting their costumes and candy ready, a new survey is revealing the best cities to be in today. And New York City was named #1. Really? That's because it has second most Halloween costume shops and the most candy stores per capita. Residents also searched online for Halloween parties and other related terms more than people in any other city. Jersey City, LA, Chicago, and Las Vegas round out the top 5. But happy Halloween to everybody across the nation.
Jersey City beating Vegas. I'm a little shocked by that. And in the spirit of spooky season, a pair of Texas neighbors taking things to the next level, lighting up the internet with a Halloween decoration battle.
So the people behind us put out their 12-foot skeleton. So of course we had to put out ours and add a little sign that said, "Is that all you got?" So we were hoping to see if they would retaliate. This was yesterday. Well, today we look out there and this is what they had to say back. So this has turned into a full-on war.
Joining me now are those dueling neighbors, Kendall Aiden and Anthony Hood. Thanks to the both of you for being here. Kendall, you started it. Why did you troll your neighbor?
Well, okay, so we've always been big Halloween fans, and we had just moved into the neighborhood like a month before this, and we saw that they put out their skeletons, so we had to join in, and we were like, well, let's just have some fun with it and just put out a sign and just see where it goes. And we were just happy that they like went along with it and had just as much fun as we did.
It's quite a bold move, being the newbies on the block, marking your territory, saying, hey, your turn, Anthony. So, Anthony, why did you take the bait and respond?
It was just nice camaraderie. Like we haven't had that the past couple of years with our decorations. So as soon as we saw it, we knew we had to join in on the fun.
The signs that you post back and forth are filled with some amazing smack talk. Anthony, what are some of the best that you've put out there?
Oh, goodness.
That you can say on TV.
I definitely like I like the original one that we did. More, you want more.
Good. And Kendall, same question to you. Some of your best smack talk sign.
I think a fan favorite of ours was the Reapers, because everyone loved that we put our Reaper out, because they put their Reaper out, so then we put ours out with a sign that said, I was always mom's favorite. And then we put a big t-shirt, a size 6X t-shirt on him that said world's best son.
How much time does this take, Anthony?
Oh my gosh, we work on it almost every day when we get home from work until it's time to go to bed.
Anthony, what do the other neighbors think?
I'm not entirely sure. Thankfully, we have friends on both sides of our house, so we kind of take it to the max when it comes to decorations.
Yeah, along those lines, Kendall, why? Why do you go all in on Halloween?
So it started when our son was about 2 years old. We would go to Home Depot and Lowe's like every day because he just wanted to look at all the animatronics, and his love for it kind of inspired ours. And so, yeah, that's just kind of where it started. It was about 3 years ago. Now we've just slowly added more and more each year.
A lot of skeletons on the screen. What candy are you giving out tonight, Kendall?
We have some full-size candy bars because last year some of the kids got mad at us because we didn't have full-size candy bars. So we have some for the first week. Also, since our Halloween decorations are they're movie themed inspired, so we're going to be giving out popcorn.
Smart.
And yeah,
Anthony.
Yeah,
Anthony, I want to get you in here. What are you giving out?
All chocolate. All chocolate. Hershey's and all chocolate.
Well, I think I speak for all Americans when I say, one, this is cool, and two, what the heck are you going to do to follow up on Christmas? I mean, it's going to be like Griswolds battling Griswolds, and I'm there for it. Kendall and Anthony, thank you so much. Happy Halloween. Thanks for bringing joy to your neighborhood.
Very good.
Thank you. Happy Halloween.
Halloween to you,
yes,
Carly.
You too. In fact, the friend starts right now.
Yeah, I think I don't know why I went here. I guess it's a sign. You got to watch Liberal Hive Mind. That was by accident, but hey, it might be a good accident because it has to do with Schumer, right? We'll come back to that in a moment. Yeah, I remember when I used to go trick-or-treating when I was young. We used to get the little fun-size packs. You know, they used to give us the candies. It was very rare that we got the full-size candy, and that was such a treat. That was so cool. And I remember one house that we went, and they left the candy outside, and they grab two and enjoy. And they were full-size candy. They were like the big ones, and they're like a whole bunch. And you're like, these people have money. So they had like baskets full of candy. So I was like, okay, I grabbed two of my favorite. And I was happy with it. I was like, damn. I remember one house I went to. The guy gave us money. He gave us money. He was like, let me see what I got in my pocket. Hold on. It's like, he took out like a wad of money. He's like, here. And he put it in the bag. He's like, here. He was just putting money in the bag. I come look in my bag. I got $20. I was like, what? That was like, damn, that was so cool. I was so happy with that too. $20 back in the 80s. Yeah, I bought a lot of stuff. But man, I miss those days. You know, those days were really special. Halloween and dressing up and the memories of it, you know. You always keep those memories. Like, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and see what we got here. Oh God, let's watch this. It's for a reason. I clicked on this. Give me one sec. Fix this. All right, let's go to Schumer. See what the hell Schumer is gonna say.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Here's your meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. Well, it looks like total collapse at this point, and you know, this is what happens in my view when a party stops talking to normal people and rather starts governing for a tiny clique of unhinged lunatic online activists. When you prioritize the loud minority over the people that actually make up your party's base. And that's exactly what's happening here. The Democrats are squeezing families. They're engaging in some truly disgusting political tactics here. And in the process, sneering at anybody who complains, well, they call it leverage.
Oh, I like that meme.
A cynical attempt to galvanize
That's
the
a
far
funny
left
meme.
space as we're heading into a midterm election here. The political calculus, of course, being to mobilize your high propensity voters. But you know what? I think Democrats really might be overestimating the size of their loyal base, or I guess the prevalence of far-left blue anon weirdos, because it seems the bottom is falling out. The dam is breaking. You know, it's been a trend ongoing for a while now, and usually when you have political demographic shifts like this, you'll have a little bit here, a little bit there, and probably a slowing of the trend for a while, but this just continues. People continue to ditch the Democrats, signaling their frustration. There's a lot of regular people in the Democrat base, and they're being shafted right now, and it seems like people are reaching their breaking point with Chuck Schumer and his pathetic little antics here. Let me show you guys some evidence of that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So I first want to start off with the C-SPAN clip. We've got yet another lifelong Democrat calling in and not really mincing words, no, saying he is done with this party and their tactics.
We go to Oklahoma, where Lawrence is on our line for Democrats. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. You know, I've been a Democrat all my life. I'm 78, and my folks were too, but this party has changed so damn much. It makes me sick. You know, I'm going to move out of it. It's terrible, you know, just like Schumer, you know, he needs to be in a home, you know, take Pelosi with him, you know.
Lawrence, who was the last Democrat you voted for?
Pardon me?
Who was the last Democrat you voted for?
Last election. But like I said, I'm changing.
You voted for Kamala Harris?
Yeah, this is ridiculous, you know.
Why did you
going around, you know?
Why did you think Kamala Harris should win that election?
As a Democrat. I just a solid Democrat, like I told you, my folks were too, and I'm just fed up. I'm moving, you know. I don't know, independent or something's got to happen. I just wanted to make a comment, and thank you.
That's Lawrence in Oklahoma.
How many times have you guys heard that? I've been a Democrat all my life, but this party has changed so damn much, and I'm moving away from it. You know, again, the left will pretend as if, oh, it's both sides, right? Oh, this happens on both sides. But it simply doesn't, not to the same degree. Time after time after time, we see not only Democrat voters ditching the party, but now even unions or Democrat politicians. Look what's happening in New Jersey with Jack Ciattarelli. He's picking up all kinds of former Democrat and Democrat endorsements. People are sick of it. And you know what I think people are really sick of? They're sick of the constant anti-Trumpism. You know, come up with a new shtick. They're sick of the hypocrisy. When Joe Biden was in office, all you ever heard was Democrats talking about bipartisan solutions, bipartisan legislation, working across the aisle. Then Donald Trump wins, and all of a sudden it's resist, resist, resist at any and all cost. Like this clip from Abigail Spanberger. Look at her response when she was asked if she would work with President Trump on the economy and jobs.
You position yourself as a consensus
builder, someone who works across the aisle, would you work with President Trump on areas like job creation?
I think that, you don't work with the arsonist who burns down the house to rebuild it. And in this particular case, the individual who's responsible for an absolute attack on the federal workforce is not the right person to help rebuild our economy.
Now, I find it kind of interesting to conflate federal employment with the economy and creating jobs. Just goes to show the thinking. These people don't want a robust free market economy. They don't want real job creation. They want an expansion of bureaucratic bloat and entitlement. But if a Republican said that during the Joe Biden era, the Democrats would torch him. But now that it's Donald Trump, don't work with him on anything. People are sick of it. And that's what this shutdown represents, and all of it to appeal to a very fringe minority. And the lying and gaslighting that regular people are having to endure, as clearly the Democrats are the ones doing this. And speaking of that gaslighting, Democrats keep telling you every day, or rather keep telling their voter base, just hold the line. This is good for us, right? Every day that goes by is worse for Donald Trump and the evil Republicans who are taking away health care and SNAP benefits. Meanwhile, that's exactly what they're doing. But I don't think people are buying it. Again, even their own Democrat colleagues aren't buying it. Here's John Fetterman being asked that question.
So, what are you hearing back home about SNAP expiring on Saturday?
I'm saying that I will witness it firsthand. My wife, Giselle, she develops the free store in our community, and it distributes food 3 times a week. And her lines have already got longer. And now I will encounter people that have no SNAP benefits starting on Saturday, and I don't have an explanation for them. All I could say is, I'm sorry. It's an absolute failure what occurred here for the last month, and now things are really going to land. And imagine being a parent with a couple kids and how you're going to fill their refrigerator and pack their lunches and get on with their lives when the things that they've depended on now is gone because we can't even agree to just open things up. For a Democrat, we're not allowed to just open this up. I mean, then our party has bigger problems than I thought we might have already. It's like, that's not controversial. Pay everybody. And you have our workers here borrowed over $350 million to pay their own bills. Like, it's a failure. And like I said, to all of the viewers, I'm apologizing that we can't even get our shit together and just open up our government.
Schumer said this gets better politically every day for Democrats. What do you say to that?
Yeah, well, ask the hungry people on Saturday. It's like, that's the thing. Americans are not leveraged. This is not some game show about who's winning or whatever. It's just like we have to be better than this and just open this up. And I do, talk to any number of Republicans who they agree that we have this conversation about extending these tax credits.
Chuck Schumer says every day gets better for us, and Fetterman fires back. Well, ask the hungry people on Saturday. It's not a shitty game show where you're just trying to win. Exactly. People are actually struggling. They're causing real pain. And Chuck Schumer's treating it like a scoreboard. It's grotesque. And I think that's at the core of the misread here. Democrats, again, are prioritizing the loudest fringe, the most extreme far leftists in their party over broad, middle, rank-and-file Democrats who want their party to actually work with President Trump in some ways, work with Republicans, to pass forward good and productive legislation, not hold the country hostage over some cynical play to mobilize the septum-ring vote, the newest voter demographic that Democrats prioritize. No, it's not the working class. It's not steel workers. It's not black voters. No, Democrats only care about the cat lady vote, the psycho college feminist vote, and of course sprinkle in illegal immigrants. But going back to the main point, I'm really sticking around the concept of political calculus. That's what politics is. It's a cost-benefit analysis. I just don't get Democrat thinking. In such a weakened state of the Democrat Party, to be engaging in these shutdown antics, it just seems so ill-advised. I don't feel like the Democrat Party is in a position to be taking hostages, quite literally, to be this reckless. They're collapsing. Look what's happening with young voters. Even CNN's Jake Tapper is sounding the alarm bell.
I think Gen Z is going to be a lot more conservative.
I think that just my experience knowing Gen Z kids, my kids and their friends and whatever, I sense much more skepticism of, and I think it is a reaction to Gen Xers and millennials forcing on them progressive views in school.
Yeah.
I just think that it's not just that he is reshaping and remaking politics and normalizing things that weren't normal 10 years ago. I also think it is a reaction to the failures of progressive movements to achieve what they wanted to achieve, whether it's Bernie Sanders, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's Me Too.
They've bled so much ground with young voters and pretty much every other voting demographic outside of the single cat lady. And to be in such a weakened state and then engage in this kind of despicable politicking, I just don't get how the math works. You can't create a broad national coalition by appealing to the fringe blue-haired minority on Blue Sky. It doesn't make sense to me. And something tells me something is brewing here, something very bad for the Democrat Party. And I think if that's true, if that's the case, it's going to materialize in New Jersey. I think that right there is the stress test. Historically a Democrat stronghold, Joe Biden won by double digits. Well, if Democrats now underperform in an election that should be a layup, that tells you all that you need to know. The Gen Z slippage, independents peeling off, union households moving towards the right, just general regular people fatigued with the activism, performance politics. If the GOP makes some serious ground there and it's a really close election or Jack wins in an upset, well, it's going to be proof of my thesis. The Democrats are collapsing well beyond expectation. And then roll forward to 2026, holy moly, we might be witnessing a complete political realignment, the collapse of left-wing politics in America. It seems like all the factors are there. There's a lot of signs. Now it's just a waiting game. Let's see what happens. Let's see if the Democrat play here delivers the results the Democrats are looking for, or, as their policies usually do, delivers a whole lot of unintended consequences. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Pretty good show. Okay, I got another one here. Let me set it up. All right, here we go.
Just days ahead of the Virginia Attorney General election, Republican incumbent Jason Miyares holds a close lead over Jones. Over 1.2 million votes have already been cast in the election. Now the Republican AG Association is handing out get-out-of-jail-free Monopoly cards to mock Jones for his reckless driving conviction. But he did spend hundreds of hours of court-ordered community service at his own political action committee. Meanwhile, Jones is lying to voters about being anti-crime.
I grew up in courtrooms because my mother was a violent crime prosecutor. She took on the worst of the worst, murders, rapes, and robberies. Cops and sheriffs were oftentimes my babysitters. As a member of the General Assembly, we funded law enforcement at record levels. She also cracked down on sex offenders and human trafficking to keep our community safe. Also, protect our kids, to keep them safe with a dedicated child safety unit, to make sure that we crack down on the abusers and the predators and all of the folks who want to do our children harm.
Yeah, Jones has a long history of supporting soft on crime and sanctuary policies as violent crime rises in the state. Joining us now for tonight's big close-up is Jones' opponent, Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares. Attorney General, thanks for joining us. We all have seen the text messages. We all understand the character indictment there. But if you take that out of it, because he's decided to stay in the race, so voters have made up their mind on that, or let's say they have, what are the differences in policies? What is it that you're doing or will continue to do that he would change or vice versa?
Well, I mean, listen, I appreciate the opportunity. I mean, listen, he's a criminal first, victim last social justice warrior. He's asking Virginians to hire him to be the top prosecutor. He's never prosecuted a case a day in his life. And to your point, his record in the General Assembly was every chance he had a chance to stand with law enforcement and victims, he chose not to. He voted actually for the early release of violent offenders. You've noted that the Ralph Northam Early Felon Release Program let out 9,600 felons out early. 49.9 8% have already been rearrested since they've been released early. He voted to end the mandatory reporting requirement of sexual assault in schools, which led directly to that scandal that Fox covered extensively in Loudoun, where a 15-year-old boy walked into the bathroom, put on a skirt, brutally sexually assaulted another 15-year-old student, and then he just got transferred to another school where he assaulted another. The police weren't notified. So every chance he's had to stand with police, he's voted the wrong way. He supports no cash bail, which is truly an idea as dumb as it sounds. It means even if you're a rapist or a carjacker, you get arrested, you cannot be held going to trial. He supports getting rid of SROs. Those are our school resource officers, our cops in our schools. He wants them out of our schools. I want them in. So even separate the fact that he's advocated for violence against children, wanting to see Speaker Gilbert's children die in their mother's arms. Don't forget, he also has said that he wanted to see cops die, that he told a colleague that maybe if a few cops died, cops would change or they'd police. It's why every major law enforcement organization in the state of Virginia not only has endorsed me, they've asked Jay Jones to drop out of the race. That is how unproven he is. That's how his judgment is completely disqualifying himself to be the top prosecutor in the state.
I absolutely agree with your assessment there, Attorney General. But despite all the things you just outlined, not only about his policies, but also his personal issues and personal sentiments that he has delivered in years past, you still had former President Barack Obama out rallying, of course, for Spanberger, but also for Jay Jones, because Jay Jones was at that rally. I mean, that takes some intestinal fortitude to show up and show your face behind a candidate like that. But do you think that's going to make any difference, not only in the governor's race, but in your race as well, having Barack Obama out there on the trail?
Well, I can just tell you what I hear. What I hear on the campaign trail in Virginia is every day, literally multiple times a day, I have Democrats coming up to me saying, I may be a Democrat, I may be voting for Democrats otherwhere on the ballot, but I'm voting for you, one, because I think you're competent, or as one mom told me in Vienna, she's like, I don't want to see Virginia become the laughingstock of the country. The idea that this man is advocated for violence against children and violence against cops would even be considered to be the top prosecutor. I think mother that has lost a child to violence. It's an insult to every law officer that's ever actually died and seen a colleague die in that line of duty. I can tell you the hardest thing to do as Attorney General is attend the end of watch funeral for those officers, those brave officers that are the fallen. They're the ones that are at the first line for our communities. They had the hardest job in America today to put on a bulletproof vest just to go to work. And to think about how insulting it is to see somebody wanting to be the top prosecutor, where I work with law enforcement every day, and it's really this moment, not even layered on top of the fact that right now Jay Jones has a special prosecutor investigating him, a criminal investigation for how he misled a judge for his 116-mile-per-hour reckless driving ticket. It's really we've never had this moment, and it's why the eyes of the nation are now on Virginia. This election now isn't about politics, it's about decency. I know Virginians are going to pass that test on Election Day.
We'll see. AG Miyares, this is Joe Concha. Two-part question for you. Are you surprised or even shocked that not one Democrat, nationally or in Virginia, has asked Jay Jones to step down? And two, you've been Virginia's Attorney General for the last 4 years. What's your final message to voters who are still deciding, basically, whether to elect you to another term?
Well, I have been shocked to some degree, though. I mean, it was interesting. Spanberger multiple times and heard debates in which some obviously asked NJ, and she thought the voters should decide. And I thought that was a pretty telling moment as well. But I am shocked that those that at least preach civilities, those in Virginia that asked Ralph Northam, the previous Democrat governor, to resign over a yearbook photo from 30 years ago, refused to ask him to get out of the race, despite the fact that he wants children to resign or to die in their mother's arms. So this is what I would say to voters. Rehire me to continue to protect you. Your safety has been my #1 mission as Attorney General, and that's always been my mission. I'm the people's protector here in Virginia, is to protect Virginians. When I took office, we had a murder rate at a 20-year high, record levels of addiction. With police, we prosecuted repeat violent offenders. We held them accountable. Your safety is my mission, and I'm asking you to rehire me. And if you want to stand with me, you just go to standwithjason.com to make sure that we pass this test of decency, make sure J. Jones stay in the private sector, because no one who wants to inflict pain on cops and kids should ever have power at any level of government.
Attorney General Miyares, this week both the Virginia House and the Senate passed a constitutional amendment which would allow the legislature to begin the redistricting process. The process usually happens once every 10 years after the census, but Democrats rushed the session in hopes of getting it done before the midterms. Now, you've indicated in a statement you've called out these Virginia Democrats for trying to skirt state law on redistricting. Tell us what you plan to do if you were elected next Tuesday once again.
Well, first of all, I've always been for nonpartisan redistricting, even when my own party was in power. I championed this, and it passed with wide bipartisan support. It went to the voters. The voters of Virginia, by a landslide, 30-point margin of victory, voted for nonpartisan redistricting. The idea was politicians shouldn't be drawing these lines. It's part of our Constitution. It is a shocking move that they have done on two counts. One, Virginia law says that you have to post 90 days at a courthouse prior to election a potential constitutional amendment. That obviously was not done. The second is you have to have an intervening election in Virginia. It passes the General Assembly, we meet in January and February. Then there's an intervening election. Then it passes the next General Assembly as it's constituted. That hasn't happened because close to 1 million people have already voted. In fact, I had a Virginia voter tell me, listen, my delegate, if I knew my delegate was going to do this, I wasn't going to vote for my delegate because this is a big issue for me as nonpartisan redistricting. They're actually denying the voice of Virginia voters who already voted 2-1 not to allow politicians to do this. And so I think it is something we've never seen before. We are a part-time legislature that meets in the winter. We have never had a legislative session literally days before a session. And I do think it was partially to keep our great Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears off the campaign trail. It really shows how little they think of Virginia voters to do this and try and sneak this into the finish line.
Yeah, real quick on that. If polls shake out, you stand to be the sole Republican in a Democrat-led state at that point. If the polls as they are today are the turnout for the vote, is there a role that you would play as Attorney General in that if this moves forward and lands on a governor's desk?
Well, listen, my statement is to everyone is when I take my oath of office, as I did 4 years ago, it's not to a political party. It's not to a governor. It's to uphold the laws of Virginia and to defend Virginians. That will not change. And I will look at every aspect of this to make sure Virginians, their vote and their voice is safe and protected.
All right. Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Tommy, I live in the state of Georgia, where we had a Republican yet sideways with President Trump, and who has since turned into a Democrat, I guess. It's amazing how those things happen. He will be in quite the predicament if this is a process that's still continuing, Democrats running Virginia, trying to change the congressional districts, and he's the sole Republican as an Attorney General.
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that question, because if the polls are correct, as you pointed out, that could very much be his reality. But I think he answered it perfectly. I think that you have to fight for the people in your state, your Commonwealth, and that is what he intends to do. I think that that's why they didn't ask J. Jones to drop out, because they still are holding on to some hope that the people in Virginia will overlook all of the issues with J. Jones, which are not just his personal issues and his personal sentiments, but also the policies. There's nothing good about that cat, okay? I don't care who you are, but they are so desperate to get a Democrat in that spot. And because they have an election season there, not even early voting, but an election season of voting, they back themselves into a corner with J. Jones. I'm hoping that Miyares can pull it out, though, because I think having J. Jones in that position, or any position, including dog catcher, is a giant liability.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, the Virginia governor's race isn't looking as good for Republicans, but he's up by a point. That means that people are at least responding to this J. Jones news.
Yeah, I've seen 3 points. I've seen 4 points. I can't believe this isn't 20 points, Joey.
Right?
The fact that you wish death on the young children of your political opponent, and you said that you hope that they died in the arms of the wife of your political opponent, who you also want dead. I can't believe I don't want to hear from any Democrat ever again about the ballroom by Donald Trump, how that is horrible and it's a threat to democracy, when not one, as I asked the Attorney General, as far as why won't you tell Jay Jones to drop out of this race? If you're not offended by that, if you're not offended by this guy in Maine who had a Nazi tattoo on his chest, and you won't call for him to drop out either, I'm sorry. You don't have a moral high ground anymore. And the fact that this race is even this close is incredible to me. But I guess that's the culture that we're in now, where it's win at all costs.
Kaylee, maybe I'm a skeptic, but I don't expect the Democrats to tell him to drop out, especially, to the point they can't be replaced. I think that Virginia is now an important quasi-battleground state. I think it does help set the tone. Perhaps New Jersey is more indicative of where the country is in the purple areas. But, this administration in Virginia got there on this issue that President Trump says is 80-20, 90-10, this idea of keeping boys out of girls' locker rooms. This state is kind of the battleground of it, oddly enough. Where do you think this shows the country is if he wins or if he doesn't?
I don't think that he will win. I think Miyares will hopefully come out on top. I think that that's the way that the race is going. But to be clear, Abigail Spanberger has also endorsed keeping men and women's spaces as well. So if Virginians elect her regardless, I think that's a very bad sign for the rest of the country in terms of a political candidate being rewarded for that position on that issue. I think that what Democrats are doing in Virginia, though, refusing to call on Jay Jones to drop out, pushing forward this extremely aggressive and probably blatantly illegal redistricting plan. There's a lesson in there for Republicans. They are treating this like a fight to the death. They really are. They are very serious about taking back political power. And I just got to wonder whether Republicans have the same fight in them. Because Trump has called on Republicans to do the exact same thing with gerrymandering, to make sure that Republicans get as many seats as they possibly can in the midterms. And there are some Republicans in states like Indiana that are very hesitant to do so. And I just got to wonder if that's your opposition, like the Democrats in Virginia, you don't have the fight. You don't have what it takes to win the battle, and you need it.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interview.
Let's keep it moving. Let's see what we got here. Gotta get it all set up here.
Of my aunt.
Let's move it back.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab. I was speaking about my aunt. I was speaking about Zerafui, my father's cousin. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt and for the takeaway from my more than 10-minute address about Islamophobia in this race and in this city to be the question of my aunt. I was speaking about Zerafui, my father's cousin.
Okay, you get that? See that? Already the flip-flop, that was Communist Socialist Zohran Mamdani flip-flopping on a story where he first claimed his aunt was afraid to ride the New York City subway wearing her hijab after 9/11. Now he says it was his distant cousin, his father's cousin, who's now deceased. Let's welcome back to the show Fox News legal analyst and author Greg Jarrett. Greg, it's great to see you again. What's your reaction to Mamdani's fishy story about his aunt as a victim of 9/11, and now it's actually his father's cousin?
Well, I think it's made up. It doesn't make any sense. But beyond that, I think, Liz, voters should find his moral equivalency deeply offensive. He doesn't seem to care that 3,000 people were murdered on 9/11, only that his supposed aunt got some dirty looks for wearing a hijab. I mean, his comparison is really grotesque, and so is the photo of him yucking it up with the imam, who was an unindicted co-conspirator in the 93 World Trade Center bombing, and also disgusting are the videos of him condemning police as racist, blaming Israel for everything, ugly anti-Semitic rants. Then he tries to cover it up or rationalize it. And this is a guy who espouses hatred, but he does it with a veneer of very clever rhetoric. He's slick, he's polished.
Yeah.
It strikes me as another con job.
So you take away the face, you take away the voice, just read the words. When you read the words, it's stark.
Yeah.
And it's really disturbing. So is he now the new face of the now Socialist Party? Because that's what the Democrats are turning into. Because watch this. New York Governor Kathy Hochul now says she will not support and try to stop Mamdani's push to raise taxes to pay for his free everything agenda. Hochul is saying it's going to crush the middle class and workers. Watch this.
No, I would say one energetic rally does not get me to change my positions, I assure you. But I do hear people's voices. I process what everybody says, but I'm also have to balance governing this state and making sure that those people who are actually the reason we have a generous, supportive budget that helps lift people up, it's their revenues that we tax. 1.5% of New Yorkers cover about a third of our budget. That's enormous. I'm concerned about outmigration of people who are the ones who are supporting our budget. I cannot make up for that with middle class tax increases. I cannot do that to the middle class and the struggling New Yorkers. So this is the balance. I mean, this is my position.
Did you hear that data point? The upper 1.5% pay for a third of New York's budget. And he's going to chase them away with tax hikes, because now you got the Washington Post reporting Democrats like New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer saying they don't like Mamdani, they don't like his extremist views. They're running away from him. They're scared they're going to lose in next year's midterms because of him. What do you think?
Well, when a politician says, I won't raise taxes, it probably means the taxes will, in fact, be raised. Her problem is all the promises made by Mamdani. Promising free everything, free buses, healthcare, daycare, cheap groceries. It's an age-old tactic that appeals to greedy people who don't care that the cost is unaffordable, a recipe for bankruptcy. Increasing taxes only works for a while until the money's gone or people flee. The inevitable collapse follows. Socialism is like a Ponzi scheme. Unfortunately, voters are ignorant.
Got it. Greg Jarrett, thank you so much. Now,
all right, let's see what we got here. Let's bring it to me. I'm getting tired, so we're going to be wrapping it up soon. Let's see. We don't have any Tyson de la Cruz tonight. Nope, there's no Tyson tonight. Well, we'll try to finish it off with something here. Let's see. I would not want to finish off with that one. Ugh. Hell no. You'll see why I said in a moment. But hell no, I would not want to end the show with this person. Let's go ahead and show you who that person I'm talking about.
Please send us your suggestions. We do appreciate them as well. But Kamala Harris has come up on our radar after the ABC did a good interview, a very good interview. But have a listen. Poor old Kamala was struggling. The word salad didn't work quite as well as it normally does. Have a listen.
But wasn't Joe Biden then, to put it on him, wasn't his refusal to recognize his own frailties the reason that you faced a nearly impossible task?
I ran against Donald Trump for president, and Donald Trump ran on a platform that was in large part, I believe, misrepresenting his intentions to the American people.
I want to interrupt you because that is a world-class pivot, but it is not the question that I asked you. Are you still reluctant to criticize the former president?
In what regard, please?
Well, just in terms of that question. So,
I like this reporter.
What exactly would you like to ask? Be more specific, if you don't mind.
James, the mask slipped there. Old Kamala.
It did. I didn't see that there was a lot of joy in that sort of thing. Boy, I mean, I tell you what, that tells us what a bullet we dodged, the whole world dodged with that. But also, I mean, it's like amazing that even Sarah Ferguson from the ABC is hip to what she's doing there.
TDS afflicted, Sarah.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you're wondering why we spent over $1 billion on the ABC, I think that's about some value we got for once.
Finally.
I don't know if it's worth $1 billion per annum plus, but it was something. And Kamala's been on every podcast, media outlet, because she's promoting her book, and she, I think, wants to run again. So that's another motivation. And my gosh, she has not improved. She is absolutely at water, hopeless. And one of the really fascinating interviews was when she gave an insight into the moment she realised, because she genuinely thought she was going to win. She genuinely believed her own BS. I mean, I don't know how you still believe the nonsense polls and the pundits who've been so consistently wrong, but she believed it. And she said when she realised that it wasn't going to happen, she just kept saying, my God, my God. And she called herself inarticulate. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
A moment of insight.
But
That's
surely
lovely.
she would have been pleased to have been unburdened by the presidential
and what has been.
success. No. But we've also, while we're speaking of U.S. presidents, you've got one.
Well, yeah, I've got another person here. And I was going to nominate Prince Andrew, but then I realized it's Wally of the Week, not Willie of the Week. But anyway.
And he's no longer a prince.
And he's no longer a prince, that's right. But no, Michelle Obama, have a look at this unbelievable self-pitying interview that she gave.
You said we were all too aware that as a first black couple, we couldn't afford any missteps. Yeah. And you also say, as a black woman, I was under a particularly white hot glare. Did you feel that?
For sure. You can't afford to get anything wrong because you didn't get at least until the country came to know us, we didn't get the grace that I think some other families have gotten.
You know, this reminds me of what I loved about the Obama administration. It was all the racial healing. Look, if there was anybody who was given more passes, more grace, more excuses made for absolutely everything, show me who. I mean, you want to talk about first ladies under a white-hot glare of criticism? Look at the very glamorous Melania Trump, who gets nothing but criticism from the press. She was given an absolute dream run. And for her to pretend that there was, racism or whatever behind how she was treated as the first lady and how she and Barack were treated as the first couple, that is just, again, it's the same divisive nonsense that they peddled for all 8 years of that horrific presidency.
We talked about gaslighting before. That is weapon-grade gaslighting. That couple got nothing but a collective tongue bath from the media for 8 years. It was nothing but endless adulation. If there was a word of criticism for, say, a Fox News or some conservative pundit, all the leftist media would rally around them and present it as grossly unfair. The man got a Nobel Peace Prize for being elected. I mean, really. And she got every single magazine cover. You talked about Melania, who is obviously, objectively a beautiful woman. She can't get on the front cover of Vogue. But how many covers did Michelle have? How many covers of every magazine? How many endless fluff pieces were written about how inspirational she is and a model mother and a model woman for all American women to aspire to? Really. And all she does, she is a miserable figure. All she does on her own podcast and on other interviews just plays the victim and bags Barack. Obviously, that is not a happy marriage because you never hear her these days say anything positive. It's all just about how she hates how he chooses food, how he's annoying, how she's, you can have 10 years of misery in a marriage and still stay together. What does that tell you? And yet that people speak about her as a possible candidate for president for the Democrats.
All right, we're here to the last show, so let's watch this last one, and then we're out for the night. Just gonna put the volume up on it.
The Cape Coral home in handcuffs during this dramatic raid has been arrested. We showed you this video yesterday of armed Homeland Security agents busting through the family's front door with a battering ram and taking electronics from the home. The Department of Homeland Security just told us why they arrested Joseph Giancola Jr.
They say Giancola used a fake social media profile to make repeated death threats towards ICE officers. This is a new photo of Giancola after his arrest. The Department of Homeland Security says Giancola posted online about shooting and killing ICE agents. The raid happened at Giancola's home on Chiquita Boulevard near Southwest 30th Terrace. Gulf Coast News reporter Madison Zaleski's live there right now with the breaking, brand new information about this case. Madison?
Special agents arrested Joseph Giancola Jr. in Cape Coral for making online death threats to kill ICE officers. Now, this had prompted agents to come over here Thursday morning and smash and raid into this home on Chiquita Boulevard South. And inside, they took out electronics.
I have children in the house. What is going on?
You just watched the moment federal agents used a battering ram to bust down the front door and serve a search warrant. Once inside, they searched the home from top to bottom, turning cameras toward the wall and taking computers. This morning, we know why. You can see some of the death threats agents say Giancola made online, including shoot the ICE agents down. DHS says he posted the threats to the social media platform Blue Sky under a fake name called Kane DeLon. Agents provided 8 different instances where Giancola allegedly threatened to shoot and kill ICE agents, calling them Nazis, Gestapo, and rabid dogs.
Sir, hands above your head.
Giancola's family had no idea what was going on when agents broke down their door.
So we don't knock on the door and say, hey, I got a warrant for your arrest. Let me just shoot at your door and put a tank in your front yard and go in and break in and scare the living daylights out of your family.
Immigration attorney Ricardo Skirit says federal agents have some leeway when enforcing a search warrant.
If they're looking for someone dangerous, or if they're concerned about their safety or their safety of the people who are inside the house, they will do those more drastic measures.
And Homeland Security says that Giancola is now in federal custody. For now, reporting live here in Cape Coral, Madison Zaleski, Gulf Coast News.
All right. Well, I'm not going to end it yet. I do got a couple of add-ons that I want to watch with you guys. So give me a second so I can set it up. And then we'll finish the show with a nice little ending for tonight. See what we got. Okay, here we are. All right, let's watch this.
Are quickly adopting AI in the workplace, and white-collar jobs, well, they are evaporating. This week, one of the nation's largest employers, Amazon, made its message to office employees quite clear. Thank you, but no thanks. Amazon, of course, isn't alone. Big companies are realizing they can reduce headcount and cut costs.
Oh, you made it back in town. Oh, that's cool.
And this could just be the tip of the iceberg. And this is the disconnect, DJ, that we're seeing in the marketplace right now. You're seeing these big AI companies keep running and running and running.
And the
then you've got your big consumer companies
I know, right?
using AI to become more efficient. We're not necessarily saying that they're having problems. They're trying to adjust to make the bottom line more profitable. That's what any corporation does. But it's coming at the expense of employees and headcount. And this is sort of the big bad wolf in the equation coming into reality.
Right, classic creative destruction, right? We get a new technology, increases efficiency, productivity, sounds great. You do have job losses in the near term. Now, in the long run, one of the things I think people are missing with AI is the fact that, yes, it is in many instances a substitute for labor, but it can also be a complement. I've already started using it in a whole host of different applications. So it can make some employees more efficient, more productive. That's going to drive real wage growth. And so you end up actually seeing, as with all these different technologies, you end up seeing a net increase in employment, but that's over the long run. To your point, Jackie, in the short run, can you see these kinds of disruptions in the labor market? Absolutely.
Is this, Brian, part of what is driving that fear that we were talking about earlier? The fear of young people and older people, but people across the board to want to embrace AI because they start seeing headlines like this and say, whoa, it's probably only going to get worse from here.
Well, there's reality, and the reality is there's going to be displacement. Then there's the layer of ideology people put on reality, which is you've got displacement. This is the ill of capitalism. Therefore, we must abandon capitalism. That's the part that I get concerned about because I think people are buying that narrative. I think one of the problems is, a lot of this is hitting college graduates. It's not the tech. It's not the trades worker or the Votech school or whatever. This is hitting the college grad. And I think colleges, among the many lies they have sold for a long time, one of them was come to college, run through the system, get your stamp, and you are entitled to a job. And that has been a destructive model because these kids like, I studied finance, therefore I should get a finance job. Like, no, you had an opportunity to study finance, but if your school was not supportive of where finance is going, it's not going to help you get a job. I think we need to break the conveyor belt link that we've created between school and jobs. AI is going to do that for us, whether we like it or not. And the sooner we help young people understand that, the better choices they'll make about how they prepare for a career. And it might not just be get the piece of paper, put it on the wall, and then complain about the fact that I can't get a job.
And when I think about AI and the conversations we've had about trade school, for example, Lydia, you could almost say skip college altogether, take classes in how to harness the power of AI like it is a trade, and that would be all you need to be off and running.
And it seems like that's becoming a more and more attractive proposition for a lot of folks every day. You know, I think it was encouraging a few weeks ago. You might remember we saw the White House, the First Lady there, Melania Trump, of course, convening a big task force work group talking about AI and how it's changing the labor market. And when she was speaking, along with the labor secretary there, they were speaking not just to people that are coming up the next generation, you know, young folks that are in school now and what kind of education they're going to need. But they also spoke to people that are, you know, going to have to transition this change in the workforce and getting re-educated. And so I think this is going to be a challenge to some of us, all of us, on being nimble and staying on top of our own game and being willing to kind of take up some new skills. The Wall Street Journal has this piece about, how folks have been on the sideline now for some of them months, you know, after layoffs that have been really hard. My heart really goes out to them. The flip side of that, though, is the long-term benefit and the trade-off. I will say AI is not perfect yet. You know, I'm a former lawyer like yourself. I'm in a lot of discussion groups about how AI is changing the legal community. Those jobs are really taking a hit. But I'm also seeing just as many posts and warnings out there about how what AI is doing to the law right now with the brief writing and stuff, it is far from perfect. It's, you know, the what do they call it? The AI hallucinations where they come up with, you know, fake case law and fake paragraphs. It's showing up in real court briefs because people are just feeling the pressure to operate too
Real
fast.
quick, Brianna, on this aspect, you would think that it would be lower-end warehouse jobs. But we're talking about white-collar jobs. And when people start to talk about white-collar and more high-paying jobs, that becomes scary. Now, the Republicans and President Trump are big proponents of AI. Does this politically come back to bite them?
No, not if they use this as an opportunity to reorient, in particular, college students, right? I mean, we're talking about rare earth minerals. Look, we have no refineries, no processing capabilities here. This is a great opportunity to go to college students and say, here's an avenue which AI might not be able to dominate for a while. This is a place where you're not going to lose your job, right? So we have to push students towards paths where there is something that is tangible and not something that is really just, you know, intellectual, because that's where AI is going to go first.
You mean stop subsidizing like gender studies degrees?
You got it, Brian.
Maybe if you want to get a job, don't stop
Art,
subsidizing
you know, Asian art history, things like that. I took that class in college. It's a
Pointing
major.
out the things that we thought were so obvious,
Yes.
but, you know, still take time to resonate with the masses.
All right. I guess that works for me. All right. We're for the last show of the night. I think it's going to be a cool little ending to the show for tonight. Let me just set it up. And they were talking about White House, right? Yeah. This is going to be a cool ending. Enjoy.
Coolest things you're probably ever going to see, especially if you're into history and you're a presidential fanatic like I am. This is a scale model of the White House. We're at the President's Hall of Fame right now in Claremont, Florida. This was a huge tourist attraction back when this was made. Now, the original owner of this Hall of Fame was given permission by Gerald Ford's administration to recreate the White House as sort of a dollhouse. We'll walk around and I'll show you. The back end of this is open so you can see it. And there are tons of artifacts here. I did a complete video here a little bit ago from my main channel. So if you're here on here, check out Phrasal Productions, the usual channel. Here is the West Wing. And if you want to see how ornate this is, inside every window is miniatures that show just how These rooms all booked, at least during the Ford administration. Could you imagine the time and effort that went into putting this together? The first floor of the West Wing.
Well, I could do them a favor. I could get rid of the East Wing for them.
Each room
Just bring in Trump's
recreated.
ballroom. Right? We gotta get rid of the East Wing. Where's the hammer? It's pretty cool. I mean, for miniature.
Just in here is the Oval Office.
Wow.
It's the Resolute desk. Even the presidential garbage can.
Wow.
How you would find the minis for all these is pretty incredible.
Yeah, they make them. That's pretty cool.
There's the press office in here. It's where you'd see all the
Yeah, it
press
is
briefings.
amazing. I'm like
Or out here on
mesmerized.
the lawn.
I'm so nerded out right now. I'm ready.
Even a squirrel on the bench.
Ready to get to bed, but man, this is beautiful. Beautiful model.
Just incredible, the detail.
Wow.
There's the map room. Famous red room. The president's study. Here's the China room. They actually have little pieces of china in here.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah, this is pretty cool, man.
Green room.
I used to build models when I was little. So
The
like
treaty
this
room.
is like nerding me out. It looks so cool.
There's the Lincoln bedroom.
It looks so perfect too.
East room, which was home to
Look
a
at
lot
that.
of receptions, a couple of weddings. Vermeil room. The movie theater.
Which is no more. That's the East Wing.
Here's the First Lady's office.
It's all gone now. Give me the hammer. Where's the fucking hammer? Give me that. I'll play Godzilla. Like
East Wing.
One Crazy Summer. Remember that movie, One Crazy Summer, where they dressed like a Godzilla and jumped all over and destroyed the whole model. It was so funny. Makes me want to watch that movie. I usually watch it in the summertime because this is a great summertime movie. But now that I'm talking about it, I may want to watch it tonight before I go to sleep. Watch One Crazy Summer. With that said, I hope you guys had a good night. I surely did. I'm tired. It's been almost close to 4 hours. It's 3 hours and 47 minutes. And I am done because I'm tired. I hope I don't have any crazy jolts tonight with my brain. For the past 3 nights, I've been having like rude awakenings with like really strong head pains. And what I mean by head pains is like jolt so hard that it wakes me out of bed and I have to stand up and be like, what the fuck was that? Like, holy shit, that was really hard. That's how strong the head pain, like it's like it's like a zap. It's like really hard. Some of my doctors think it's from maybe the concussions or something with the nerves. They don't know what the fuck it is. I'm going to have to get a EEG again to monitor my brain. They're going to have to put these things in my head, and I may have to do a sleep study to see what the fuck is going on, because it's jolting me out of the bed. And this week has been the most severe week I've ever had since I had this issue. This year's been the strongest, and this week has been the worst. So with that said, God willing, I'll be here tomorrow, and continue having a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night. And I'll catch you all on the flip side. And yeah, celebrating Day of the Dead. It was cool. Also, don't forget, set your clocks back 1 hour, because we're falling back an hour. Tonight, you will get an extra hour of sleep. So enjoy that extra hour of sleep, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace for now.